You're funny, Manuel. What's going on, J-Mac Dawg? What's going on, Manuel? How's it going? Excuse me. I apologize in advance. I have a cold, a head cold. I guess is the best way to explain it. And I can't shake it. So if I cough a little bit or if my voice drops out, I don't feel bad. It's just in my nose and throat area. So, in the ears. Because those are all connected. So, there's that. Alright, let's bring me over. What is good? What is good? What is good? Alright, so, as you can see, I am here by myself at the moment. But, Gary, turn off the music so we can think.
I was jamming at the music the whole time.
I knew you were. That voice you guys all know. It's been my 6-week partner on interviewing Moon Knight.
I don't know if I'm...
It is the one, the only, Captain Bay.
Hello.
And then we've waited 5 weeks to bring this guy back. Because, he didn't want to talk about Moon Knight like that. He's wanted to lay it all on us at once. It's the one and only Cam from Comic Book Movie Reviews, who finally hit the 1K.
Ayo. Nice.
What's up? How's everybody doing? I hope you guys are doing great.
So I got Cap right here, and there's Cam right there. Let's see, Guido. If I was smart, I'd watch this stream while also studying for my quiz. That'd be a good thing. But are you stating that you're not smart, Guido? So therefore, you're probably not going to watch the stream while you study for your quiz, or you're not going to study for your quiz while you watch the stream. I take the latter.
If it was me, I would have to pick one or the other. I'm not smart enough to do both at the same time.
I would do both at the same time. Stream greater than quiz. Yes.
There you go. Smart choice.
That is a very smart choice. I appreciate that.
I'm going to be the negative one today. I'm going to be the one that argues your education is important.
That's why I said for me, I'd have to pick one or the other. But
yeah,
setting the preference. Cameron,
I'm
today's stream. I see
the mood right now.
For
doing a little. We've got a good cop, bad cop going on today, and Cam chose violence.
Yeah, he chose violence today. As you can see, he's got his new hat on. It says I can't read it. King you turned. It says let's get dangerous. So let's go ahead. I think for purpose sake, we should discuss Moon Knight first and then finish with Doctor Strange. That way, for those who haven't seen Doctor Strange, can leave later, and we can talk about Moon Knight. What do you gentlemen think?
I just died in Alliance Quest, so I'm upset. I'm fine either way. We can go whichever way. I was focusing on the fight, so.
I'm fine with starting with Moon Knight.
All right, let's start with Moon Knight. We, as you guys know, Captain Bay and myself have been reviewing it from episode 1 to 5 every week. Episode 6 aired this past week, and we finished watching that, but we decided to go ahead and do our wrap-up show along with our Doctor Strange thoughts and breakdowns and things like that, what we thought about the movie, because we all got to go see it this past weekend. So we're going to start with Moon Knight first. Cameron, the people have heard us all for the last 5 weeks. I can probably say with very much conviction that both Captain Bay and I extremely enjoy Moon Knight. Am I correct to say that, Captain?
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Okay. But for the last 6 weeks, I've had a disgruntled sub in my channel. See, the M constantly talking about how much he disliked this movie or this episode, these episodes.
You said you have somebody. giving you garbage
Get
about Moon Knight these last few
yes,
weeks.
the last few weeks.
I want to meet this guy and shake his hand.
Oh, we got some raters in. Hey, DTM. For those who are rating, Guido, if you, I will pin that to the chat. It is a spoiler stream, but we will not be talking about Doctor Strange until the end. We will not be talking about Doctor Strange until the end, so you're free to stick around for Moon Knight for the entirety, and then leave at the end if you have not seen Doctor Strange,
or if you just don't care about spoilers.
or if you don't care about spoilers and you just want to hear what our thoughts are.
You just want to sit here and look at us beautiful people on the screen in front of you.
Okay. So Cameron, please, before we go into an episode by episode quick rundown, give us your thoughts. We'll let you have the floor because Captain Bay and I have been talking for 5 hours for the last 5 weeks.
Okay. So this is going to be not necessarily an origin story, even though there are origin elements. But this is going to be an introductory story of the character Moon Knight from Marvel Comics, a character that was created in the 70s. It tells of Mark Spector, who is a mercenary and believes that he is imbued with the powers of Khonshu. Now, this is how it was kind of like originally done. In the show, it's not a believes, it is a definite thing. They definitely go within the Egyptian mythology heavily with the show. And as is in the comics, Mark Spector also has different personalities that he deals with that either have their own separate skill set or this, that, and the other. I am not one of those people who is in love with the Moon Knight character. Even before the show, it's not a character that I was heavily invested in. I don't even think I have any trades of Moon Knight. However, I did respect the character and I understood that he had a very strong fan base of those who are just like, he's the best character, it's like, and that's well and good. That's perfectly fine.
Hey, Cataclysm, what's going on?
So, as far as the show is concerned, this is a 6-episode series, so it's almost like a mini series. I really only enjoyed about a quarter of it when it's all said and done.
Okay.
During the episode 3 wrap up, I believe I came into your stream and said, if I wanted to watch a Marvel action show about this really awesome fighter, I'd go watch Daredevil. My sentiments on that have not changed. However, there are some good things to the show. The fact of the matter is that we do have Jewish representation in the show with Mark Spector. We definitely
big year, as you pointed out earlier, that there's going to be a lot of representation by Marvel.
Yes, that this is true. I said that I'm excited. I'm always excited whenever there is a level of representation for what some people would call others, and I hate using that terminology, but in this case, I'm using it to say, there is representation, and it's been a lot within the Marvel TV shows. We've seen it with representation for the deaf and hard of hearing community, with Hawkeye. We've seen it for the for veteran community and for the Black/African American community in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And then we have the Jewish community, as well as people who may or may not have actual mental health conditions with Moon Knight.
We also get Egyptian in this too.
That's correct. There is a lot of Egyptian representation in this as well. Having said that, I wish the vehicle was better. Now, there is something that I want to touch on, but I'm not going to touch on it during this talk through. The fight scenes are exactly that. The fight scenes are fine. That's not where my issue lies, even though I did make that, dig with the Daredevil issue. My issue is the things in between, the world building. And I understood that in the early episodes, they're not trying to show all of their cards. They're trying to keep some secrets. They're trying to keep some twists and some things uncovered until they're ready to release them. That's all well and good, except there are things that don't make sense. And then there are storytelling elements that are wrong. And the reason why I say that they're wrong is that comics, as well as TV and movies, are a visual medium. Whereas a book, you can read it, you have your own imagery that you come up with in your mind if there's not illustrations in the book. But with TV, movies, that sort of thing, what we're shown is exactly that. And episode 6 has the most egregious, flagrant misuse of something that should have been shown but wasn't. It was like the icing of the cake that I didn't particularly care for in the first place. We'll get to that later, but that's really how I want to start with talking about my opinion on the Moon Knight series.
Okay. All right. Well, great. Let's start with, as we always do, episode 1. We will break down episode. I don't know if we'll do a full, like, true breakdown. We'll probably go, like, episode by episode, talk about some good, bad stuff. It's going to be a lot, because I didn't rewatch any of the series at all. So I'm going to go off of much memory as possible. And, but episode 1, we open up with, what do we open up with, Kat? Do you remember?
Yeah, I've got my notes. I got notes for this
Yes.
one, guys.
Cam, you got notes too?
Next to the notes.
No?
So the first episode we started off.
This show.
The first picture we actually see is started off on Arthur Harrow at his desk. We get the whole scene with him with the glass in his shoes.
Yes.
So that's kind of where it starts. And from there, it jumps to Steven waking up in his bed. She's shackled to it. We get the sand. We see his apartment and all that kind of stuff. Then he goes to work. We get introduced what this Stephen Grant character is. His job. He works at a museum. And you can tell like he has a lot of knowledge about Egyptian mythology and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. But he's basically just, works at a toy stand. We get early hints that there's other stuff that he kind of like blacks out. He doesn't know what's going on because his coworker's like, "Hey, we're going on that date, remember?" And he's just like,
yeah,
sure, I guess." Which, looking back now, knowing the history,
I don't think it was Mark.
I don't think it was Mark that asked her out on that date. Nope. So we'll get more to that later, but. Then what is it? We get person-in-law.
This is when
just trying to go through my notes here. Mark. Oh, he goes to sleep and then he wakes up.
Goes to sleep, wakes up,
goes back home. He wakes up and he wakes up in a field, and that's when he has the scarab. And we had the whole first introduction of Harrow judgment scene where he's judging kids or like all the people in the crowd. I mean, and then the first blackout where he transitions. Again, we don't know. We assumed it was Mark that he's turning into, but looking back,
right, we assumed
that could have also been this other person.
Yep.
So then he wakes up eventually back at home again, and after all of that whole fight scene, and thinks it was just a dream. Doesn't think anything of it. Nope. Until he gets back to he shows up to work the next day, and let's see.
No, he doesn't go to work.
Oh, am I skipping?
Yeah, you skipped the part. He actually goes to. He realizes what day it is, or he thinks he realizes what day.
Oh,
it is.
that's right.
What time is it? He goes to the pet store, looks at the fish, and he says, "Like I told you before." The lady at fish store before, they all come with 2 fins. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And so he's like, "Is that time right?" And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Oh, booger, I got a date." So he goes to the restaurant where he's supposed to go meet this date. Comes to find out that he's 3 days late to the date because he lost all this time. And so then that's when he talks to his boss. It's like that's when he finds out he's got to do inventory back at the museum, and that's when Harold follows him on the bus and all that stuff. And eventually we show up with Harold basically in the museum together. Harold summons the jackal, the demon jackal.
Yeah.
And the demon jackal, who can't be detected by cameras,
or seen
is
by the
chasing
naked
him.
eye.
Or seen by the naked eye, is chasing him through the museum, and that's the first introduction of Mark talking to Steven in the bathroom.
Yeah, in the mirrors.
Yep. Tell him to give the body. That was the one thing I did say about this whole season. There was a lot more reflective surfaces than there should have been. Because they were talking to each other a lot.
They clearly had to get creative and make sure that they always implemented those whenever they could. So, I can maybe think about it. Like, maybe there's more reflective surfaces around us in our day-to-day life than we realize. I don't know.
Right. How did you feel about episode 1 overall? Now looking back at the full season, how did you feel about episode 1, Cap?
I felt like it was. So going in, I'm looking at it as someone saying who has no background of the Moon Knight character outside of MCOC before this. I thought, obviously it wasn't a full-on origin story, which I think is kind of good because origin stories can definitely slow things down, which, this series still had some parts that were very slow, it felt like.
Correct.
Especially like once like Khonshu and Moon Knight weren't there, some of it just felt kind of like, okay, can we get to something?
I thought
we get
it
to
was
something
too
here.
big of a stretch without that. Yeah.
But so seeing it that this wasn't an origin story, kind of like Cam was talking about earlier, it's more of a introductory. I felt like for someone as that, like I said, had no real knowledge of the character, it was kind of presented in kind of like a, oh, okay, this is interesting, and definitely left me like looking forward to where this is gonna go and explore. It wasn't like a this looks dumb. I don't like this. So I enjoyed it, and I was happy with where it ended up going. So
okay, Cam, we know about your overall experience of the show. What did you feel? Episode 1, good, bad, ugly type setup.
Episode 1, I didn't have any major gripes on. It set up the series for what it should have done. The skips during the bus scene, I liked. It gave us an introduction of something's happening, but we don't know what. That's fine. It's what they did later on that made it an even bigger, what's the word? Screw up.
Down.
There we go. We can say screw up. So episode 1, it introduced us to what we needed to see. It was a good start. However, I will say that maybe part of my resentment comes from people watching episode 1, not knowing everything that's going to happen in this show, and are wanting to talk about how it's the greatest MCU show ever. No.
Yeah, no. You can't do that for episode 1.
No.
Yeah.
And despite what your opinion is on whatever show, you could be somebody who absolutely loved Loki. You could be somebody who enjoyed WandaVision thoroughly. Or you could be somebody who, is part of a community that the show spoke to you. Like, you love animation, so you were all on that what if train. Something along those lines. If you are taking one episode and absolutely erasing the contributions that those other shows made, I'm not going to listen to a single word you say after that, because I understand that your place is not coming from a place of logic or reasoning and purely emotional or purely what's out there now. And so part of my resentment is maybe a little bit of a knee-jerk reaction to those people who take a less, thoughtful route and just go with, oh, this is what's on Disney Plus that's new. It must be the best thing out there. So that's just, episode, so DTM 2112 says it was a solid, good hook. Agreed.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was saying too. Like, it left me excited about what was going to happen.
Let's see what it's going to do. Yeah. Did we lose Cam? Just got quiet.
I think you might have just muted.
Yeah, I muted myself. It's folks are eating. I'm being.
Oh, you're good.
Got you.
That's fine.
Got you. I just noticed the whole air quality sound changed as soon as you did it. So I had to make sure I didn't lose you.
You didn't lose me.
So yeah, episode 1, great first hook. Kind of introduced you to Steven with a V. We'll get back to that later. And Mark with a C, obviously, and how Mark is the embodiment of the champion Moon Knight of Khonshu. You even got to see, or did you hear? Was it Khonshu we got to hear? Yeah, we got to hear Khonshu, but we didn't see him yet.
In the first episode?
Great. The idiot's in charge again.
The idiot's in charge again, yeah. Yeah, because there was that whole driving on the mountain thing, and all that. Yeah, so there was that. So very good first hook. Was looking forward. I will say the biggest downfall of this whole series was if it was titled Moon Knight, we should have gotten a little bit more Moon Knight. But outside of that, I thought overall, still a really good series. Not the best Marvel series. Episode 1 definitely had probably one of the better hooks. I won't say. I'm trying to think what had the best hook. It might have been the best first episode, or that one and Loki.
Yeah,
it might have been best. Those two right there would probably be the top 2 for hooks on the episode.
Yeah, because WandaVision just left people thinking like, "What did I just watch? Like what?"
Right, exactly.
A lot of people just were like,
I'm
what?
gonna
And then
continue to keep watching it, but why are we doing
trying to think
Dick
how,
Van Dyke and all that stuff? Yeah.
Trying to think how episode 1 of Falcon Winter Soldier ended. Now,
it wasn't a hook.
the fact that I can't remember tells me that it wasn't good enough. Cam,
It wasn't a hook.
You're still muted, Cam. Just so you know.
You muted, Cam.
Cam, you're muted. Your mic is muted. Cameron?
My mic is muted.
Here we go. Say it again.
What I said was, Falcon and the Winter Soldier episode 1 ended with the black man not getting a loan at the bank, and I felt that deep in my soul.
Oh,
That's
that
how I
deep
remember
cut.
it.
Yes,
Okay.
that's how we remember that. Yeah.
But that's not a hook. Yeah, it's not leaving you on a
It's not a
hook
hook.
like a cliffhanger wanting you to watch
felt it.
more.
I
That's
was
just
like-
wanting you to like you're relating to it. You're just like, what the hell?
Right.
Gotcha.
Exactly. So we move on to episode 2. Episode 2 opens up with
What are my episode 2 notes?
this is when
He wakes up at home again and he's hearing the jackal, the fight.
yeah,
Fight.
you're hearing that in the background. He walks over to the mirror and says, "Are you there?" Huh? I didn't think so. He really thought this was all a dream.
Yeah, again.
Again, until he got to work. And he goes and says something about someone messed up the bathroom really bad.
Yep.
It's like something went off in there.
We get yet another hint of the third personality in this right here when the security guard is saying he's calling him by a different name, and whether or not that's just him not caring enough.
I think that was just the security guard not caring enough.
But it also could be a fact that,
No, that security guard was a jerk.
Yeah, it could. But it could mean the other way. But most likely he's just like, I don't care about you. Your name is whatever.
Your name is whatever, I give it to you.
Yeah.
It starts with an S. I remember that. That's why I kept calling him Scott instead of Steven.
Yeah. Basically, yeah. So then it ends up with Steven losing his job, getting fired.
By the nicest HR person in the world.
Yeah. Offering him help like for these facilities, which we find out then foreshadowed later on in the series of him being in the asylum and everything. Mm-hmm. Then he goes and sees... Oh, we didn't even bring up the gold statue dude in the first episode. He was super important.
Oh, Crowley, yes.
Crowley. No, he's not super important, but he does kind of come up here and there. There are a couple callbacks to him.
A couple callbacks to him and different things. Yeah.
So then he goes back to him in the second episode, decides that he needs to investigate more about the phone and the storage key that he found in his apartment in episode 1. And that's when he finds Mark's secret stash.
Yeah, his other layer.
Mm-hmm. Mark starts explaining.
Which also had reflective surfaces.
Yep.
Inside of a dark area.
Yep.
Okay. I get that. Maybe. No. But he finds like a bag full of passports. He finds money for different countries.
And a gun.
And a gun. That ends up being a reflective surface for Mark to talk to Steven. Basically tell him, give me the body. Let me finish what Khonshu wants me to do. and then I'll leave you alone, so on and so forth. Basically, steps out of the pretty much takes the stuff, takes the bag, walks out the room. Has the scarab is in the bag at this point in time, which you come to find out later the scarab that he's carrying around is a compass. Then that's why Hero was after it, because it was going to take him to the tomb of Met. And so it's weird because the hallway of the storage facility did a lot of the same movements that the hallway in the psych ward did later on in the episode. But then you see Khonshu kind of appearing and disappearing in different scary aspects, I should say, of this episode. And then from there he bumps into Layla. Layla takes him on his bike. She asks him about the funny accent, and this is another one of his personalities, or another one of his undercover identities. And Steven has no clue what she's talking about. Takes him back to the flat.
I don't even know who you are.
Yeah,
basically
takes him back to the flat. They have the conversation. I don't remember where this episode ended at.
This one, so then they have the cute little moment with the poetry and everything, and he's like, "Oh, that's my favorite poet." And she's like, "No, that's my favorite poet." Then the FBI agents show up.
The FBI agents.
Yeah, they drag him away. They're looking for the scarab, of course. Turns out they're Harrow's people. And then Harrow tries to explain to Steven, like, "Look, this is what we're doing. I know you saw something that looked like we were just killing people, but no, we're killing, people that they deserve it. Like they're gonna commit evil crimes and everything.
Either they have or they're going to."
Yeah, and Steven's like, "But if you're killing them before they've done something evil, you're killing an innocent person."
Right.
Like,
and then he fights like, "So are we killing children?"
Yeah.
And definitely
the whole Hitler debate comes in. The baby Hitler debate comes up, basically. So then Layla shows up. Harrow decides to summon another jackal, and she's yelling at him the whole time, "Summon the suit," which was the name of the episode. By the way, the name of the first episode we didn't mention was the goldfish problem. Because what happened to the goldfish, guys? That's got to be Cameron's gripe with this season, is that we don't find out what happened to the goldfish in the end. Right? While they were gone that whole time, who's taking care of the goldfish? We see there's two more there in the cage, in the fish tank at the end.
Tank. Yeah.
I'm just kidding. Anyways,
they were just buying new ones. Goldfish don't live.
Yeah, exactly.
Come eat, Catelyn.
So, yeah, Steven and Layla are being chased by this jackal, and Steven is refusing to let Mark take over still. And that's when we get the introduction of the Mr. Knight suit, because she's like, "Oh, you told me to summon a suit," and Mark's like, "This isn't the suit. Like, what are you
wearing?
What is this?"
Like, I don't know.
And so, yeah, they fight the jackal. Ends up, eventually, he lets Mark take over. Mark ends up killing the jackal. And it ends on...
Can you really kill something that was already dead?
Well...
he just kind of decommissions the jackal,
I guess. Mark and Khonshu have a conversation. Khonshu's just like, "Look, we have our deal. Like, we're doing our thing, right? And we're gonna get to do this." And he's like, "Don't worry about it. I got this under control." Blah, blah, blah.
They wake up in Egypt.
Yeah, and then they wake up in Egypt. And that's where it ends.
Cool. So that's episode 2. I still think we're on the right path at this point. I do know where some people are talking about where the show kind of derailed at a point. But I thought up to this point we were on a very good path of figuring out what was going on. I thought the storyline was moving along pretty good. And the episode 3 is when we start finding out more about this third personality. But how did you guys feel like how they addressed the DID by this time in episode 2? The dissociative disorder.
Yeah. Yeah.
I see Cameron's look.
Cam had a look of.
I didn't hear him say anything, but he gave it look like what?
Yeah. I go ahead. I'll let you go. I was talking.
Go ahead, Cam.
The way that it is portrayed throughout the entire series, I don't have a problem with. In fact, I will go as far as to say that Oscar Isaac does an outstanding job with, giving it at what we see 2 different performances in the same body, and at no point do you feel like they're getting merged or they're not the same. Like you can tell exactly who you're dealing with at each time. So out of my many issues that I have with the show, the acting of Oscar Isaac is not even close to one of them. He does a great job. I think that with the writing, with the acting, it's portrayed fantastically. So no complaints from that aspect from me.
Gotcha. Hey, real quick, Larson, what is good? Silver, how you doing? And Master Mode Creation, welcome guys to the stream. Appreciate you guys stopping in. We're here talking the Moon Knight series, and then after that, for those who haven't seen Doctor Strange and don't want to be spoiled, we'll be talking about that after we wrap this one up. We're probably going about 2.5, 3 hours tonight, so you guys stick around. If you got something to do, throw us on in the background. We're going to be talking it up for the entire night. So there's that. All right, Cap, your turn.
Yeah, I agree. Oscar Isaac, I mean, that was a theme across every breakdown episode we did, saying like he's been doing a great job, and anyone I've talked to has said the same thing. And yeah, he does a very good job of, no matter which persona he's in, instantly like, oh, he's Mark right now. Oh, he's Steven. And outside of just the fact that Steven obviously had an accent. Like, yeah. It was very well done. And both characters felt very different. And, it really made it feel like it was 2 completely different actors, even though we know it's the same person. Right.
Definitely did a good job of that.
In terms of like representing the actual like disorder of it, I guess I don't have any experience myself with that, but what I've heard people say is that they've handled it in a good way, I guess, and in a way of bringing light of it, that it's an issue that people really suffer with, and the way that he does his whole transition of the eye rolling back was accurate and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I've never met someone who has that disorder. That'd be kind of crazy.
Yeah, I haven't either.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah, I haven't met anybody with that disorder myself, but I did think that they did. Oscar Isaac did a great job portraying, like everybody else said, just the multiple people that he had to portray. Even the levels of that person that he was playing at that time. Seeing the transitions that both Mark and Steven made throughout the episode, I thought was pretty important. Sorry, I'm getting my tail kicked in the arena while talking. But yeah, so we move on to episode 3. Or did anybody else want to talk more about episode 2? I thought it was pretty straightforward. I think episode 3 is about when the action really starts picking up.
Yeah, I feel like episode 2 for me was one of the weaker, if not the weakest, of the episodes. There wasn't a ton in there. And episode 3 kind of is similar for me. Lot of episode 3 is where I'm sure I'm gonna have some in agreements with Cam of some issues with, like, I know for one, for me it was the whole trial scene that there's a lot with that was just like, what?
Yeah. What?
But okay, so yeah, moving on to episode 3 then.
Yeah. On that Master Mode Creation says, I'm enjoying the Marvel's new projects, but there are some things I'd like to see. Well, put that down in the comments, and I'll try to remember to come back to that one, Master Mode. We'll talk about that. So episode 3, moving forward on Moon Knight, episode 3. We go through him. First, we start off with Layla and finding out, how the fake passports come around. Because it's a close friend of the family's making them for them, obviously.
Yep. Who clearly knew of her father.
Yep. And they talked about the extent of her father and how she was going back to Cairo, even though she probably wasn't going to be received very well.
And we find out her nickname from her father was his little scarab, which was the first nod to her potentially becoming the Scarlet Scarab, I think is what it's called.
Scarlet Scarab, yeah.
Which was a lot of rumors that came up about that after this episode, and maybe even before, I don't know, but mainly after this episode is when people started throwing that theory out there, and, well, it turned out to be true, so that was pretty cool.
So then we flash from, Layla's kind of forecasting exactly what Mark is doing, and we flip to a screen where Mark is actually, running on a rooftop trying to chase down a lead, to run into three guys who essentially killed his lead. So he's like, well, I can ask you guys, since you guys killed the guy I was supposed to talk to, let's talk about this, so on and so forth. Going from there, this is the first time I think we really get the Jake reference.
First, real definitive moment of like, oh, there is a third personality in there that we haven't seen yet.
Yeah. So there's a flash. There's the three guys attack Mark, and Mark flashes out, and Mark thinks it's Steven. Steven's like, oh, it's not me, it's you.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what we get the first reference of maybe somebody else inhibiting the body, which we always kind of knew based on canon, that there was always a third personality. I think maybe even more than three based on the comics, but three prevalent ones. He wakes up in a cab, and he gets out, sees the two guys from the roof, chases him through the city. He catches one of them, he slams him against the wall, blacks out again, wakes up to the point of where had he killed one of them by that point?
Yeah, he killed one, and that's when he has the conversation with Steven where he's just like, that wasn't, like, Steven, what's wrong with you? And he's like, that wasn't me. That was me. What's wrong with you? And they're just like, and then Khonshu tells him, like, go grab the kid.
Yep.
Bring him to the edge.
Bring him to the edge. He'll talk.
Then the kid goes, praise Ahmet, and basically Hail Hydras himself off the roof.
Yeah, pretty much. From there, I don't remember where we go from there.
Oh, let's see. From there, he has a little conversation with Khonshu himself, like Mark and Khonshu talk, and he's just like, look, can't you? He's basically, Mark's telling him, like, can't you get the other gods involved here to?
Right. This is when we bring in the other gods.
Yeah, and Steve,
he's like,
look,
first he didn't want to do anything.
They already don't like me, but let's see what we can do, basically. And he messes with the sky first time, and then the gods basically summon them. They appear in the Pyramid of Giza, right? Is that what it was?
Yep. Pyramid of Giza.
Yeah.
And Steven's like pooping his pants about it.
Yeah, he's like freaking. He's like, oh my gosh.
And so then they meet up. He meets one of the avatars for, I forget which god. But it was one of the guys that actually Harold, or not Harold, that Khonshu actually had a relationship with.
It's Yatzil, the avatar of Hathor, the goddess of music and love.
There you go. So then the gods come about through their avatars, and they ask Khonshu's pleading his case to them that someone is trying to awaken Ahmet. We have to put a stop to this. They say, oh, well, who is it? It's Harrow, blah, 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 blah. So they summon Harrow. Harrow comes down and pretty much is like, I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm just touring Egypt.
Yeah, I'm not doing anything. Khonshu's the one that's possessing this troubled human that has medical issues and needs help and taking advantage of him.
No one else besides us that I heard really talked about this. But he kind of had like a Moses-like vibe tribe of people following him through Egypt.
Yeah.
So I thought that was kind of weird. Like, it's like, you know, let my people go, except for he wasn't letting his people go. You know, he's taking them to find.
Yeah, they're all there, and the guys are asking like, "Why are you here?" He's like, "I'm just revisiting, like old place." Come on,
like,
this is part of it that I was saying. Like the guys were stupid here because
are
like
you guys dumb?
they're like,
Right.
"Oh, Harrow, are you doing this?" No. Okay, he's innocent. You can go. But that's all it takes. Like what?
And so then the guys tell Khonshu they want to talk to Mark. They ask Mark, is he well? You know, is he not well? And he's like, yeah, I'm sick. But not to the point of this man is still trying to do something that he shouldn't be doing.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of sad when a god won't believe you.
Yeah. Well, luckily, that goddess earlier mentioned, she decides that she's like, maybe there's some truth to this, and she's like, there is another way to find out, you know, if to handle all this. Basically, tells him about the what was it called? The sarcophagus of Senfu.
Senfu, who was a magi.
Yeah, who transcribed the path to Ahmet's tomb. So
at this point, they have to meet with a guy through Layla.
Yeah, they have to find Anton Morgart.
Yeah.
Something like that. I don't know how to say it. Mogart, I think.
Yeah, and he was basically essentially a collector of the black market stuff
that
you can find on black market. That you
probably knows Sharon Carter.
Yeah, because it was definitely a reference back to what was the name of the city? Madripoor,
yeah.
At that point. So they meet up with him after having a small spat on the boat. They meet up with them.
Yep. Which also, we forgot to mention at this point, Layla randomly found him. Just kind of like
right,
in
just
Cairo.
randomly,
oh yeah, you're in Egypt.
You're
I'll
here.
just find you. Real
no.
quick.
Did she randomly find him, or
she randomly found him.
The first time she found him through his cell phone.
Yeah, because he's trying to talk. He's trying to talk to a person to find out where to go to meet this Anton guy, and then she just like shows up, and he's just like, "What are you doing here? You can't be here."
Right.
Yeah. So then they meet this guy. They get to look at the sarcophagus. She's telling him like, "Let Steven take a look at it. He can understand it." And he's just like, "Okay, go buy me some time. I'll work with him." And at this point, they're still not like on the same team. They still kind of hate each other.
Page.
And then Harrow shows up, and things all start to go sideways. Harrow starts telling Layla like, "Oh, he's not telling you the truth. You know, he knows more about your dad than he's letting you know, and all this kind of stuff," which was not wrong. He wasn't lying about that. Steven did know more than he was letting off. Or Mark did, sorry. And basically, Harrow's beginning to summon another jackal, it seemed, or do something magical to prove, like, look, I can give you exactly what you want. You know, you don't have to listen to these people.
He basically tries to destroy the coffin.
Yeah.
The sarcophagus.
Yeah.
At that point.
And then Mark shows up as Moon Knight to save the day, essentially. And we get the first kind of... I can feel like, looking back now, like this was kind of the first foreshadowing of them like working together, fighting. Because like Steven's like, let me take over. I can handle this. Like stop hurting people. Like we can just talk this through. And so he does, and then he instantly gets like stabbed a million times. And he's like, okay, nope, never mind. And then later on in this series, we get them kind of figuring out how to work together, which was kind of cool.
Real quick, Master Mo said, to be honest, I think the Moon Knight looks really bad. Gotta love the creativity. Yeah, the suit itself, the Moon Knight suit was, both that and the Mr. Knight suit I thought were pretty clean. So that I thought that was definitely a great job, Marvel. But that's never really been an issue. None of their outfits have never really looked cheesy. They've always all looked really good. World Breaker Hawk stopping in and say, I want to race Captain Bay for $1,000. I don't know what that's about. And then DTS was away for a couple of minutes, catching up, but looking back, the trial was a tipping point for me in the series, which I think for all of us now looking back, now that I had time to digest the whole series, looking back, that trial period was definitely like, is that how it really would have went if this was actually a thing?
Yeah.
I don't think so. What's going on, 2 James?
Yeah. Yo, 2 James.
Let's see.
So wait, we're going back to this race for 1,000. Like what?
Yeah, I don't. You don't have to hit him offline. I don't know. The dude's
I
crazy,
know.
man.
I know. There's someone who in the past has said they want to race you. I'm trying to remember if
World
if it was
Breaker
is it the same
Yeah,
person?
it's him. Yeah, it's him.
I don't know where this $1,000 is coming from though.
I
don't know what kind of shape you're in. I am not in, the best shape.
You're not in that kind of shape.
I'm in more of a round shape nowadays.
You mean racing on the Wii, where you tap the buttons?
Yeah, are we playing like Mario Kart here,
run?
or like
Yeah.
what are we playing? What entail?
What kind of race are we talking?
What kind of race? Yeah, let's clarify this.
All right, so
I want the title of cat. You're coming after my name. Okay,
Wow.
well, we'll have to discuss this another time. Let's focus on Moon Knight and Doctor Strange here in a little bit.
Yeah. So we are out now at the point of they're kind of fighting back and forth to see what's going on. Once Layla's trying to get the pieces. Is it Layla's trying to get the pieces?
Yeah, while Moon Knight, while he's fighting all the bad guys, she runs over to the sarcophagus to try to grab all the pieces to the map. The security dude shows up.
Did you find out why why we thought Khonshu wanted Layla for his avatar? Because she was kind of a badass.
Yeah, that's one thing. I guess I don't know if this is one thing Cameron's gonna talk on. They didn't like is we don't really get a full explanation as to why Khonshu wanted her.
I think we did
at least, or that. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, so she ends up running into the security guard. Find out she can hold her own pretty well. She can fight. She takes this guy down with ease, and was able to grab the remains of the map, which apparently weren't destroyed when he destroyed the entire sarcophagus, which I thought was kind of weird. Like
weird.
it's true to me, it looked like everything got destroyed there, and then she's like, "Oh yeah, this is everything exactly what we needed, just fine, not just destroyed.
Fine. Nothing wrong.
Okay,
nothing wrong here.
Nope, nothing to see here." Then how does this one end?
So
it ends.
Essentially, they
work on the map. Yeah, they work on the map. Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead,
Kim. Take it.
Oh, okay. So it ends
We've
whenever
been talking a lot.
they figure out the location of Amet, and then they just Mark decides to let Steven try to figure it out, which he does. And with the constellations where they are, that was where the constellation was, thousands of years ago. And then they decide to have a little bit of synchronized map making with the stars, and they turn the sky back thousands.
Yes, because Khonshu remembers every night.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, which looks stunning. But speaking on I'll get there later. So they figure out where Amet's location is, but because Khonshu has done this with the eclipse earlier that episode, and now with this, the gods.
Yeah, and that goes back to referencing what one of the guys said earlier. Mess with the skies again, and we'll what do you say? We'll encase you in stone.
Yeah. So he said, tell Mark to come find me and release me, and the gods pretty much capture him in stone, and the episode ends with frickin' what's his name coming to visit him. He's like, I just want you to know that I couldn't have had this victory if it wasn't for you. You made all this possible.
You made all this possible.
Yeah. It's like you introduced me to this and led me to here.
This, I feel like, was, as far as an episode is concerned, one of the lower points. Not necessarily, one thing or two things, but, the trial, a big misfire. This trial was almost like it was written by somebody who never has gone to trial. There's a burden of proof. What are you doing in Egypt? Oh, just sightseeing. Really? So you're traveling with like 40 people just sightseeing?
Yeah, like Moses did. What do you mean?
He didn't have to prove that he wasn't there looking for Amet. But the moment that they find out that, Mark slash Steven were unwell mentally. Oh, well then there could
This guy's clearly not trustworthy. Yeah, this
clearly he
guy's
couldn't have done anything. So that was a misfire. What I was going to say earlier, the moving of the stars and the placement, looks good. It's a good visual for the show. And I mentioned earlier that TV is a visual way of storytelling. However, I also like to be logical whenever I'm looking at this visual storytelling. If this is supposed to be something logical, and I understand that this is based on, Egyptian mythology, dealing with, magical or mythological characters, and they're doing something that is absolutely impossible. What exactly has to happen in order for the constellations to be exactly where they were thousands of years ago? Well, all of those stars have to be back to where they were then. The Earth has to be back where it was then. And just from a logical standpoint, there is so much that doesn't make sense on a logical standpoint that it breaks the plausible deniability. Sorry, that I know that's not the right term, but at that point, I can't believe anything else you say, because what you just shown me before was so crazy that I'm sorry, you've lost me there. Just like
I'm gonna tell you, like I tell my girl Cam, sometimes you just gotta enjoy the show to enjoy the show, even though it may not make sense logically. Yeah. Sometimes you just gotta let the show be the show.
Is that why we watched Jerry Springer for so long? Sometimes you just gotta let the show.
Sometimes you just gotta let the show be the show. If it's made for entertainment purposes, guess what? Be entertained, baby.
Just watch tomorrow's show. I know he's not the father, but I can't look away.
Like go with how the old boy say it in Gladiator. Are you not?
You're not entertained. Yeah.
There you go. Be entertained. Let the show be the show. Stop thinking so much. Just enjoy it. That was too much of the thought process of logic for you to enjoy just the show as it was. Did it make sense that it turned the entire sky back? No. It would have definitely pulled Earth off its axis. It would have done a whole lot of wrong.
I mean, yeah, you just turn in the sky like that. Just think about it. Like, the moon itself has implications with the tide and the oceans. They're like moving so much of that. Like the oceans would have been. The whole world probably would have drowned.
We would have been underwater at that point.
Yeah, if you're going real logical, like that's where.
I just sat there and I was like, what would Neil deGrasse Tyson do?
See that right there? You can't enjoy the show thinking like those guys. You got to enjoy the show for what it is. The entertainment value. It looked cool. That was a cool move. They moved the sky.
UTM saying he could get with the night sky more than the trial. Yeah, the trial was. That's what I was actually. I don't know if we were gonna plan on doing a rankings of the episodes or anything, but I kind of wrote what mine were, and this one for me came in at the worst episode, strictly for the trial itself, because like we were saying earlier, just like the no evidence, like they barely even questioned him, and the second he's like tried to flip it onto Steven and Mark, it was like, oh okay, you're fine, you can go. These guys, yeah, we'll deal with them. Like, yeah, it just didn't make sense.
No. And then 2 James says, do you think they hinted of Spider-Man Noir in one of the dimensions? We haven't talked about Doctor Strange yet, 2 James. I don't want you to think I just didn't read your question, but we're going to pin that for later and come back to that later on in when we talk about Doctor Strange. Mike Middleton just jumped in. Trial. We talking heard deep in here or something? Less violent? No, look. Mike, we're already 3 episodes into Moon Knight, doing the big finale breakdown, talking about what we liked and didn't like.
This is not a breakdown of the Johnny Depp trial. No.
Yep. Great. So, you get it. Episode 3, probably not everybody's best episode for a lot of different reasons. But I'm going to tell you guys this. Sometimes you just got to let the show be the show. Enjoy it for what it is. Trust me, I've been there where you guys are at. I've looked at it and be like, man, ain't no way that happened.
Yeah.
Ain't no way. But that trial was some BS. There was no entertainment value in that. That was a black man on trial right there. That's basically what that was. That's what I'm pointing out at as. He grew up in this neighborhood? Yeah, he's discredited. There's no way. There's no way.
The trial of Captain Bay. Hold on, wait, what?
Oh, wow.
What did I do now?
No. DT says, I expected Harold to not get caught yet, but that was terrible. How about just tell them about them tattoos on his arm? Right, exactly. What about these tattoos on his arm?
Tattoos, show him your staff. Have him explain why he puts glass in his shoes. I guess Mark didn't know that.
Yeah.
Necessarily.
So many meat houses.
We still didn't get an explanation for that, I don't feel like.
Then it comes in and says, so many meat houses were upset with Moon Knight. I thought it was entertaining, standalone series. Not everything has to be a cameo of a fan cast. I did.
One thing that is kind of cool, though, about this Moon Knight series overall is that this was the first series we got based on a character we hadn't already known from the MCU. Everything else, WandaVision and Vision, that was new. Like, we did get new characters, like we got Agatha and stuff like that, but the main characters in every series we've had up until this point were already introduced in the MCU.
Very true.
So this was the first one that was a brand new anything. So in that sense, you could kind of look at it as their first experiment of doing that kind of stuff, like introducing a brand new character. So it's bound to have some flops, I guess.
They did say that this is supposed to have almost no ties to the MCU, which in reality, like, while all this going on with the Sky Movement, where were the Avengers?
Yeah.
Where were, what was all going on there? So, nobody thought that there was something wrong with that.
You would think at least, like, Doctor Strange would be like,
like, yo.
Sky doesn't normally move like that. That seems like a threat to the world on a magical level.
Yeah. So let's move on to episode 4. Episode 4, we go with Layla being the badass bee she is, throwing Steven down the sand dune hill to save him once again from the people that are trying to kill him. And then she ends up saving them both by throwing a red flare into a pile of bullets.
Yes, this episode might as well have been named Red Flare. There was a couple
without getting hit, which was my favorite part. She didn't get hit at all.
It also you skipped it. It started with Khonshu's little statue thing getting placed on the wall.
Oh yeah,
where we saw a bunch of other gods that also there, which I thought that was gonna come up maybe later on, like getting these other gods released or something potentially, but I guess it didn't, or at least like explaining something. But it probably wasn't important.
Right.
But yeah, she saves them by throwing a flare at a truck full of bullets from a turret gun, basically, or whatever, and it blows them up. And then Steven's all of a sudden alive and awake again, which at the end of the last episode he was knocked out.
Also without being touched by any of the bullets.
Yeah.
Which, right.
Makes sense. They get in the car, they leave. And again, this is Steven who has control of the body right now, not Mark. And they decide to go to the tomb. What?
I just read DTM's message, and I agree with that altogether. The Eternals also should have been a series.
Oh, yeah.
Another story.
I've been saying that for a while. That show would have been, or the movie would have been done much better as a show, introducing each character in its own episode, and then having maybe 2 or 3 episodes of them all coming together. I think that would have been a much more well-received introduction to those characters.
Yeah.
So yeah, they get to the tomb, or not the tomb, but it was the tomb.
Yeah, they were in the tomb.
Yeah,
they got there,
and they jump down, and they have the little Layla and Steven love affair beginning. and they kiss each other, and then Mark punches him in the face, which was pretty funny. I did like that. I did like that. And we get Steven nerding out again once they get into the tomb, seeing all of this like Egyptian stuff that he's been studying about his entire life, which who knows how long it's actually been.
Well, I mean, Steven was a kid.
True, but yeah, I get, yeah, yeah. So his entire life, yeah. He probably, well, I mean, who knows when he started getting into the Egyptian mythology of it all, I guess, but I don't know. So skimming through my notes, looking for the important stuff.
On you because I'm in AQ right now.
Gotcha. So they get into the tunnel that they realize is based off of the Eye of Haras, which this whole part was, I don't know, it was kind of weird. They're going through this tunnels and all this like this maze type thing, and then they all of a sudden realize, oh, this is modeled off of this thing, and we need to go here. Like, okay, they breezed through that real quickly, and it for someone who knows nothing about any of that, I was kind of just they tried to explain it, but it still didn't really make sense to me. But whatever it was, it led them to where they needed to go. They find the mummy chamber or whatever, where they see these containers full of human organs and everything. And then they hear a noise, they hear some gunshots, and they're like, well, what are they shooting at? And then they hear someone coming. They find out there's this mummy thing dragging one of Harrow's men in there, who proceeds to end this person's life right then and there, which was a pretty gruesome scene.
Yeah, terrible.
Meanwhile, in this whole time, they separated a little bit. He was up above in the upper section of the room, looking around for some stuff, and Layla was down below. So then, eventually, this mummy creature hears them and starts chasing them, and they split up. They go their separate ways. Layla gets to a point where she has to like skim the edge of this gap in the ground to get across. And of course, as we all kind of expected at that point, Mummy's hands start coming through the wall to try to grab her, like they were any kind of horror movie.
Yeah, or just like the movie The Mummy.
Yeah. I've never seen The Mummy, so I don't know.
I know, you told me that. It made me sad.
I know. Yep.
It made me so sad to hear you say this.
Wait. We have to pause here.
Cam.
So,
you missed that part.
DirecTV this past weekend had like HBO for free. And I was like, I wonder if there's anything good on. The Mummy was showing. And I was like, we found it. This right here is good. And I was watching it and I was like, I loved it. It came out like 1999. The Mummy should have been the enjoyable experience that Moon Knight was. And
I don't know. I mean,
it's different. Yes, I understand they're different, but still you're dealing with Egyptian mythologies, iconographies, and things of that nature. There should have been the same kind of level of excitement, at least during the fight scenes of Moon Knight, as you got in The Mummy. And here's the thing, the very first fight scene that Moon Knight has with those guys in episode 3, because the first few times, it's a driving scene or it's with the jackal, which mostly happens, off screen, and then the camera pans over and you see it, he's punching the jackal. And the second one, it's another jackal. So the first time that you see Moon Knight actually fighting individual people is all the way in episode 3. I didn't feel that level of excitement as I did with O'Connell in, what was it, Hamanoptera? Yeah. I mean, that's my opinion. I'm entitled to have it.
You are very entitled to have that.
Well, I'll do my homework and watch The Mummy. It's on HBO. I just found out, so I'll work on watching that.
And then you have to let us know how you enjoyed it.
I will. Our next breakdown will be of The Mummy series, guys.
Look, there's lots of classic movies that I haven't seen, so in all honesty, I don't have any. I don't have a leg to stand on with saying you haven't seen such and such, because there's some.
I found out the other day that my sister hasn't seen Top Gun.
Oh, when y'all went to the movies and seen the new one get ready to come out?
Well, yeah, I want to go see it. Her boyfriend was talking about it. He was like, "Oh, I'm really excited for Top Gun," and she's just like, "Never seen the first one," and we both were like, "You what?" Like, It's Top Gun. Yeah, it seems like a movie most people have seen in their lifetime, I would think. Anyways, back to Moon Knight, everybody.
Back to Moon Knight.
Where did we leave off? So yeah, Layla's getting harassed by these zombie mummy things or whatever they are. Eventually, she fights one of them off, takes out another flare, kills that one off with the flare.
She was a flare queen.
Yes. And then Harrow shows up on the other side of this room and just sits down and has a little talk with her, explaining basically that Steven... Does he tell her that Steven killed her dad, or that he was there?
That's that he was there. That he's leading. He knows more than he's letting on.
Yeah. Tells her Mark was there when the father. Okay, yeah, I see my notes now. I should just look at my notes. So meanwhile, while that's happening, Steven comes across a tomb. And he's like, oh my gosh, this is like a really big tomb. Like, this is obviously for someone that was very important. And he's like rattling off like all these names. Like, could it be this person? Could it be this person? He gets up there and finds out it's Alexander the Great.
Who was the last avatar?
Basically, they were the last avatar of Amet, yeah. And Steven realizes, like, where would they hide the... what would they... It was called something, not just a statue. Not sarcophagus. They called it something. I can't remember the name.
Yeah, I can't remember what they called it.
Whatever it was. The little statue of Amet was in the mouth of Alexander the Great. And as he gets that, Layla enters the room and she says, can he hear me? Meaning, can Mark hear me? Like, I need to ask him this question. And he's just like, him? No, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure he's dead. But then he's like, no, Mark, did you kill my father? And instantly he's just like, Steven's like, I'm out. Let's Mark have control.
He's like, I'm not a part of this one.
There's a couple scenes in this series where that kind of happens, where Steven all of a sudden realizes, like, okay, yeah, this is not mine.
This is not mine. It's not for me.
You can take this over. So, and he's just like, look, we can talk about this, but we need to get out of here now. And then she's like, did you kill him? And he's like, no, of course I didn't kill him, but I was there. I know what happened, basically. Harrow shows up before they can escape, and Mark pretends like he's gonna give up and let him get taken, fights off two of the guys, and then Harrow just goes, bang, bang, you're dead. And that's that. He starts falling through water, which was kind of like a trippy scene, which was obviously just trying to show that he's going into the afterlife in a sense, I guess. And then we get the whole Tomb Buster scene that shows up. The Indiana Jones ripoff, and we find out that the main character of Tomb Buster was named Stephen Grant, and he has an assistant guy there with him, and they're just searching around for stuff. And then we realize pans out that this is just a movie that's playing, and they're in the mental facility, the asylum.
Yep.
And we get a bunch of callbacks to other characters that were in the show, which, just for sake of time, we want to get through this fast. We won't go through all those again, I guess. But a bunch of people that were in the series before.
Pretty much anybody who had anything.
Yeah, anyone who had a important speaking line basically shows up.
At some point in time, popped up in this facility.
Yeah, and the cupcake cart. The
cupcake cart was referencing back to the cupcake truck.
And then we see Mark and Layla in there. He's holding like a little Moon Knight action figure. He gets taken into Harrow's office, where Harrow starts like trying to talk with him. He's telling him he's created this in his mind, basically. And yeah, I didn't really write a lot. I kind of skimmed through all the notes on here. Eventually, Mark just tries to run out of there, hides in a room, finds the sarcophagus, opens it, and that's when Steven jumps out, and we have both personas in the same room, in the same physical space. Well,
right.
physical. You know what I mean?
Saying physical, not physical?
Physical, non-physical mental state of mind things, stuff. I don't know.
Right.
So then they're kind of freaking out. So then they start walking around to try to figure out what's going on. They see another sarcophagus.
Yes, that's shaking and rattling and yelling.
Which you see one sarcophagus, you open that one. You see a second one, you don't open it.
You don't.
Everybody knows this standard procedure.
Yes,
Standard
traveling along procedures when you see a sarcophagus.
I just don't understand that. Like, I thought that was so many times where I'm like, oh, now we're gonna get introduced to the third persona. Nope. Now we're gonna get it. Nope. Now they're definitely gonna do it. Nope. Show ends. They didn't do it. End credits. Oh, okay, there we go. that was kind of dumb. Let's see. And then as they're walking around there, they hear some noise coming. Giant hippo shows up and they freak out.
Hi.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
And that was episode 4.
That's episode 4.
I thought it had such a strong start to finish the way it finished on somewhat of a cliffhanger. Not really understanding more so where, like, because Mark landed in this very shallow water. So why did he start sinking to the bottom? What
I think that was just like
a reference of him.
Falling into the afterlife kind of thing. That's all that was.
So like it left a lot of questions. Like, what was this? Why did this hippo show up out of nowhere in this area? I mean, obviously a lot of that got answered in the following episode, but it felt like there's something, either they should have had episode 4 and 5 in one episode versus breaking them up the way they broke them up.
Possibly.
I get the cliffhangers, but it just felt like it was too much, because I felt like we spent way too much time. So we spent basically an episode and almost a half inside this area.
His mind.
Not a half. I guess a half is a little in depth, but probably more time than they should have at this point when especially when we're trying to wrap up a show. That's something maybe they should have done all of episode 4. Was, them finding that Mark getting shot, Mark starting to go through this thing with the facility, him and Steven opening up, figuring out a way to get back. Because it felt like towards the end, because it was a 6-episode series, I felt like the end of it got rushed. Because episode 5 was all about them.
All the explanations of everything that's been going on.
Correct.
Basically, episode 5 basically filled in all the gaps. Felt like.
Yeah, it filled in all the gaps. I probably thought definitely was probably, if not the best episode, definitely top 2 episodes of the whole entire series.
I put it as my favorite episode. Number 5.
Just because the now, I'm pretty sure. I had a really good, strong support system.
I mean, you can look at episodes and say this is my favorite for this reason or that reason. I will say that episode 4, like, I was into this thinking, where's the change? Where's the thing that's going to make this unique? And episode 4 gave me that uniqueness. It was like, hey, we're going to make you wonder, was any of this ever real? And I was like, yo, now I'm interested. So episode 4 and episode 5, which goes into the origin of the trauma, the origin of who Mark really was the only portion of the show where I felt invested, because I was given something different and new, and it was interesting to me. I hate that it took 3.5 episodes to get there. But this was the only truly enjoyable portion for me.
At my job, they had homecoming,
and that's, like I said, that's my opinion. There are some people that are going to disagree with me, and you know what? That's perfectly fine. I don't invalidate anybody's opinion on things. That's just how I felt. But episode 4, absolutely loved what they did, especially after that bad aftertaste of episode 3.
I thought he would have given it to me, but he didn't.
Got you.
I can agree with that. I can understand where you're coming from there too.
Yep. DTM says problem with this episode. What was their plan for dealing with Harrow and his people when they had no weapons and no Moon Knight? And Layla demanding to talk about her dad instead of escaping. Shaking my head. I agree. Like at this point, it's kind of like we're outmanned and outgunned. We need to go.
Yeah, like you clearly know what's coming right now. Like, I understand you have real concerns, but is it worth your lives right now?
At this moment.
Like, what's it finding out like, oh, yeah, I know what happened to your dad. I'm okay to die now. Or is it, let's get to safety and then we can discuss it here and I can slap you a few times and be mad at you for lying to me.
Pretty much. That should have been more so what it was, but I digress. I digress. So episode 5, which we've already kind of touched on, we open back up in the duat again. Or in the no, we open up
psych
with
ward.
The psych ward, but Mark really we actually open up with
we hear the kid
cave.
Yeah.
The kid
a tease of the cave. We hear the yelling, and then you hear the yelling of his mom yelling, "It's your fault. It's all your fault.
It's all your fault."
And then it flashes from her yelling to Talret yelling again, of them yelling back and forth at each other, and then we flash back into Harrow's office. So quick couple transitions there, brings us back to basically where we ended off the last episode.
Yeah.
And now this version though of Mark is very beat up. He's got a lot of cuts on his face, a bandage, which
very boxer-like.
Yeah. Wasn't really sure why that was the case. Harrow is going through telling him like, look, you're in this medical facility in Chicago. You've created this fantasy that you're some kind of superhero. You think I'm the bad guy. Like, you're clearly going crazy right now. And then Mark's just like, look, I'm actually feeling a lot better now. You're actually, you're a really great doctor.
You're a really great doctor.
Just starts to basically like agreeing, like, yeah, I'm fixed now. I'm good.
I'm out, okay, I'm out again. I'm got to get out of here.
Yeah, it gets crazy, goes crazy again. Starts grabbing at things, trying to stab people and yelling, and then they try to sedate him, put him under, and that's when he appears back up in front of Talret. Who Talret basically tells him, "Oh no, yep, you're dead. You're dead." Basically explains,
no, you're dead.
Yeah, because Mark was just like, "Oh, I thought this was what's going on. Like, I thought I was dead." Maybe he's like, "No, you are dead." Explains to him that they're in the Egyptian underworld, the Duat, and that they, as humans, they can't perceive the Duat like as the gods do, so it's projected as however they want to see it. Basically,
their mind can't handle the Duat.
Yeah, which for them they turn it into this asylum basically. And we get the name drop of the ancestral plane here when Mark's just like, so this is the afterlife, and she's like, well, it's not the afterlife, it's an afterlife. And then she talks about, the ancestral plane, it's so gorgeous, and that was pretty cool name drop there. And then
one of the few MCU references.
Yeah. And then Mark decides to just like walk through the door and be like, "Look, what if I go in here? Am I gonna see what? What am I gonna see if I go through here?" He goes through the door, and then they're on the boat. We get the reveal of the whole boat, floating through the sand.
It's never late. We're rolling, baby. We're rolling.
What's up, Zacchaeus? And they explain, Steven and Talret kind of go back and forth explaining that they're heading to the, I can't ever say it, the Auru or whatever, to the Field of Reeds.
Yeah, sure.
And that's when Talret's like, oh, so he's the smart one.
Right.
So that was pretty good. Yeah, and then she explains how their hearts need to balance in order to be able to proceed into the Field of Reeds. She's explains to them, oh, look, your hearts aren't going to balance. During that time, Mark's just like, let's kill her. Let's get rid of the hippo and turn this boat around. Yeah, he's like, let's
kill her. Like,
oh, good luck with that. Killing a god. Okay.
Yeah.
As a person with no powers or anything. Yeah, so she tells him like, look, you guys gotta go back in there and figure out how to balance the scales here. You know, be open with each other, accept
before you finish the journey. Otherwise,
yeah,
your souls will be lost to the duat.
Yeah.
So on and so forth. So essentially, Steven's asking Mark, well, let's just go back in there. You know, let's figure out what's going on. And they start walking down the hallway, and you see one door to look at is basically the Moon Knight character fighting the Jackal in the bathroom. The other one was the changing of the sky, and then you get to
Cameron's favorite part of the show.
Yeah, was it a little boy yelling help or something?
No, you see
the little boy yelling help, and he says, "What's that?" And
so, oh no, it goes. You see him. He sees the one of the memory of him drinking by the car, and then they go into the cafeteria where they see all the dead bodies, and then, oh no, yeah, he heard a kid yell help, and that's what led him to the cafeteria where all the dead bodies were. Then they see the kid chase after the kid after they have the whole conversation about like these are all the people you've killed, and he's like, well, they're all bad people. Like it's not like that. Like they
right.
You know, they were good people. They, you know, it was all for conscious and everything. So then they go out, chase after the little kid, initially thinking like you killed a kid. Like, oh my gosh, Mark, like what's wrong with you? Turns out it was
his brother.
It was his brother. And so he falls into a memory of his mother. He sees his mom again, his dad, and then his younger self and his younger brother, who he finds out he had. They wander off into the woods after having a little exchange, saying later skaters, and after a while, crocodile. We get that call back to that's why he said that earlier in the show. And then as they're wandering through the woods, we hear them essentially acting out the the movie series that they apparently loved as kids about Stephen Grant. What's the series? What was it called again? I need to look back at the Toonbuster. Yeah,
it was the movie.
So they're acting out that movie, and then they wander into a cave. Starts to rain. The water levels are rising. At this point, we all know what happened. But we still have to keep watching and see what's going to happen. And it's just a very brutal scene to have to watch someone and think about the whole time. Like, this is a little kid who had to watch his little brother go through that. Like, that's just...
Right. So he was already mentally damaged from that.
Yeah.
And if that wasn't bad enough, they cut back to a scene where afterwards they're at I don't know what the Jewish people call it.
Shiva, the Jewish
yeah, the Shiva. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And
or Shiva. I don't know if it was Shiva maybe.
Yeah, sorry about that. I got this thing in my throat starting to creep up for me finally. Where he witnesses his mom yelling at young Mark Steven.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Mark/Steven.
And Mark
before he became Steven.
Yeah, and Mark has entered the memory as well. So Mark and Steven are together again now.
Yep.
And Mark's like trying to tell him like, look, you don't need to see any of this. Like, let's go, let's get out of here.
Let's get out of here. So on and so forth. He runs up the stairs, or young Mark runs up the stairs. Steven proceeds to follow young Mark up the stairs to where yet another memory is happening, where mom isn't part of his birthday. Then runs up the next set of steps to his mom at the birthday, but clearly, you know, she had been partying already. You know what I mean?
But not in a good way.
But not in a good way. Not in a good way.
Yeah. Basically saying you were always jealous of him. I should have expected you to do something like this. Yeah. Tries to go upstairs one more time. Steven
actually goes to the room, and then Mark grabs him and says...
grabs him, pulls him out they end up on a street, and they start yelling at each other. And then it has the moment of teenage Steven leaving, walking out, and being like, look, I just need to go. It was your job to
get her help.
Then, yeah.
So,
And then from there, they get the scene of them at the dig site where Layla's dad was killed, and he explains how his old CO Bushman.
Yep, we get the Bushman reference.
Yep, the Bushman reference from the comic, which was the actual. I think was it a character named some kind of villain named Bushman or something. I don't know. I don't remember. I don't know the comics.
I think there was in the comics. I think he was a villain or an antagonist of
Moon Knight,
of Mark Scepter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that he was one of the main Moon Knight villains. But as you know, Moon Knight is not the most mainstream character. It's like I couldn't tell you a single Moon Knight bad guy. You know, everybody has their like iconic ones.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I couldn't name one for Moon Knight. So that tells you how, you know, exposed the character is, which in this case not very much.
I had a very small knowledge of Moon Knight prior to the.
And if it weren't for MCOC, I don't think any of us would have known who Moon Knight was.
Probably. A lot of us would have known.
So from there, from the dig site scene, we see all the dead bodies, and then Steven's like, "Where are you at?" And then Mark points, and that's when we see Khonshu's tomb, and Mark dragging his body to the base of the statue there, basically getting ready to kill himself. And we get Khonshu going just like, what a waste. Basically explains to him all like, look, I can see what you're going through. There's a lot going on with you, and I could really, you seem like an ideal candidate for what I need to do. Gives him a whole big old speech, basically telling him I'll save your life if you agree to do this for me.
He talked about his fractured mind, which
let
you knew at that point. Khonshu knew about the disorder that was already in Mark's mind.
Yeah,
he already sensed. We all knew too. We didn't know about the third one officially by that point, but assuming Khonshu knew that there was a third one already, based on based on some later conversations that we end up having afterwards in episode 6. But essentially, he tells him, he pretty much not blackmails him, but what's the word I'm looking for? Cons him.
Takes advantage.
Takes advantage of Mark at this moment. Because Mark was like, I could die or I could live, and all I got to do is, do stuff for this guy.
Yeah.
And, I mean, the stuff that he ended up having to do for the guy was, probably more, worse than what the stuff he did prior to that.
Yeah.
But, he had no knowledge at that point that it was going to be that kind of bad.
Yeah. That ends with him, Khonshu saying, "Rise and live again as my fist of vengeance, as my Moon Knight."
Yeah,
which that was pretty cool moment.
Call.
Get the whole name of the show. Now we know why the show is called Moon Knight. So it's good to get that in episode 5. But
reference it was sooner than WandaVision.
Yeah.
Getting the
Scarlet Witch. Took her a couple movies and a whole series.
Yeah.
So then it jumps back to Harrow's office. Mark's in there, and Mark gets asked. It was basically a foreshadowing of what's we come to find out later on, where Harrow asks him, "Do you think you created Steven to hide from the awful things you feel you've done in your life, or do you think Steven created Mark to punish the world for what your mother did to you?" Well, we find out it was neither of those later on. It was Mark creating him as a child to basically forget about all the bad things that have happened to him, and so that side of him can have a happy life, basically.
Yeah, Steven was the manufactured part for all the good things that went on, and Mark was to deal with all the bad things that were going on in his life at that moment.
Or was Jake?
And Jake was probably there to
Yeah.
deal with, was probably there as the, the muscle.
Yeah.
I guess we should say. As the muscle. Cam, you've been quiet. I know you got us on mute because of Jessica sounds like she's talking to parents. But feel free to hop in if you got a moment.
Excuse me.
In a minute. Okay.
You're good? Okay.
In a minute.
Go ahead.
So we're still through episode 5. We eventually they sent something wrong in the duat, and
Yeah, there's a quick scene where Steven is talking with Harrow as well. Or wait, am I? Oh no, I'm skipping ahead.
they get the sense something's wrong in the duat, and they see all the souls falling. And Torat is like, something is wrong. Souls are being sent to the duat before their time. At this point, we sense they probably have Ahmet, but it comes to my realization at that point that they didn't have. Oh crap! They didn't have Ahmet yet, but he had the statue, and that statue allowed him to. What's the word I'm looking for? Turn his cane basically into
judge people at will, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, and me and that whole time too, they also convinced Tauret to be able to turn the boat around and be like, look, we're our only chance of stopping him. You need to at least help us get back. And she's like, even if you make it back, you're still going back to a body with 2 bullet holes in it. Like, you're still gonna die. You have no way to.
Yeah, so they plead to her.
Cover from there, and so that's when they say tell
Layla
get a hold of Layla. Tell Layla to release Khonshu so that he can save us, basically. So while she's turned that, they go back into the memory bank of their mind to try to figure out
because they still
how they can balance the scales. And that's when Mark's like, look, or Steven, like, you need to let me into that room, whatever that room is in there. I need to see it. Because that's what's gonna balance this, I think so. And he's just like, look, we can just talk it through. It's not worth it. And then he's just like, it's not worth it. If we don't do this, everyone dies. Layla dies, and that's on you. Like, how can this not be worth it? And then Mark's just like, okay, lets him in. Then we get the scene of him in his bedroom where you see him all curled up in the corner. We hear someone banging on the door. His mom's yelling to let him in. And he's just yelling, repeating to himself the whole time, as like, it's not my mom. It's not my mom. It's not my mom. Creates in this moment, he creates the whole Steven persona.
And Steven at that point realizes he is not the original.
Yeah, he's not the original, that he was the one that was created, and that he's basically lived a lie his whole life.
Sorry. This freaking mosquito got in here.
It's pesky mosquitoes. And the part of this whole scene too that is interesting to me, and I know I mentioned it during our breakdown, is that Steven obviously doesn't remember all this, even though this was the exact moment when he was created, because he's even reciting the line that he first says. He says, oh, this is a mess, we need to clean this up or whatever. But then when the mom gets in and she grabs the belt, he clearly doesn't remember that part. So did he instantly switch back to Mark for all the beatings or whatever, if she ever did, where she abused him? Or was that then when the third persona was created? I don't know. It's something.
It's we never know when the third persona was actually created.
But then Mark basically says, you were not meant to see that. That was the whole point of you. He said, you want to remember the truth, that you had a mother that beat you, that hated you, that made your life a living hell. You got to live thinking she loved you, that she was kind, and that she was still alive. And that's when Steven starts to lose it. He's like, what do you mean she's still alive? She is alive. Like, don't say mom's not dead. I talk to her all the time. Like, I'm always calling her. And that's when Steven basically shuts him out and refuses to believe him, and then Steven shows up in Harrow's office. And so this is our first interaction with Steven and Dr. Harrow. And Harrow realizes it all very obviously, as we've mentioned before. He does a great job of distinguishing which version of the character he is. Harrow is able to realize this too, like, oh, he's no longer Mark. This is Steven. It's like, Steven, it's good to see you. Good to see you again. I was starting to think we'd never see you again. And then they talk for a little bit. Steven realizes now, like, oh, this is the Dr. Harrow that Mark was kind of talking about. He's like looking around the room. He's kind of sees like, oh yeah, this certificate here has no signatures. Is nothing. It's like he's like, oh, this is kind of picking up on like this guy's not for real. And then Harrow mentioned something about his mother. It's like, you came here after your mother died. And then again, Steven starts to kind of freak out and be like, no, but what do you mean? My mom's alive. My mom's definitely alive. Don't say that. Why would you say that? He's like, okay, never mind. We're good. Well, let's call her. How about we call her? And Mark's like, no, Steven, don't call her though. Don't disturb her, because at that point he's kind of.
She doesn't take calls, for the telly, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
At that point, I think at that point for Steven, the reality was coming true, but he did not want to deal with it at that point. It was not time for him. He didn't want to deal with it because the moment the phone call was made, he knew she wasn't alive anymore.
Yeah. So he finally accepts it. Where am I at here? Then we finally flash to the memory of Steven in front of the car where he was drinking, which we find out that was him showing up to his mom's funeral. He decides he can't allow himself to walk in there to go in. Mark tells him, "Yep, Dad called. This happened. This was about 2 months. I think it was 2 months ago, and that's when this all started. When our lives started to intermingle with each other, they started crossing paths and started breaking the barrier, basically." And then that's when Steven explains to him, like, "Look, it wasn't your fault. All these horrible things that our mother said, it's not your fault. That he was just a child, and that it wasn't his fault. Like, she blamed it all on you, but it wasn't his fault." Basically, trying to allow Steven to accept it, allow Mark to accept it. Sorry. Then they get more ground shaking, and they show back up on the boat. Find out the scales still aren't balanced. Then the unclaimed souls of the Duat are now coming to claim them. As the past victims that Mark had killed show up. You all right over there, Ghost Dog?
Yeah, sorry. I'm talking with you guys. I got stuff. My BGs hit me up about war.
I had a feeling that was
stuff
something
happened. I'm like, oh.
I just looked over and I saw you go.
One final war. One more war.
Yep. That's what I'm
One more war where I'm not an officer anymore.
So yeah, the bodies start to climb up onto the boat to try to drag Mark. It seems like they only are going for Mark in this moment and not Steven.
They do, and not Steven.
Because it's like they know that, I guess, Mark is the real person.
Yeah.
And that Steven is the created one.
Yeah.
That was created in the mind, so they don't need to go for Steven. If they get Mark, they get both of them. But if they only get Steven, they don't get Mark, I guess. I don't know. That's kind of how I kind of saw it.
Hold on. Zacchaeus says, "I'm confused. Did the fight between the big bird and the crocodile actually happen? Plus the scene with Dr. Harrow Mark as a patient." We're going to cover that here shortly, Zacchaeus. We're getting to the end here now. So
yeah.
We're going to talk about all that, and we'll answer some more questions. Hopefully we'll clear some of these things up. We'll give our thoughts on it. and it'll be less confusing because
Yeah.
it did get sort of confusing towards the end of the series.
Yeah.
For those who really weren't paying the best attention to it.
So yeah, that final scene, they're fighting off. Well, Mark is trying to fight off these people, these bodies of the damned or souls, whatever they are, the unclaimed
Right.
souls, and Steven's just kind of standing there like, "You got this, you can do this." And in that moment, he realizes he's like, "Wait, if I'm you, you created me, then I can do this." And that's when all of a sudden he realizes like, "Oh, I can fight these things just like he does." So that's he helps out, thinks he has him all good to go, and then all of a sudden one more
6 instead of score.
Yeah, the whole cricket reference.
He's a cricket reference.
And then as one last one tries to drag Mark over the boat, Steven charges at it, basically tackles him, and falls off the boat and falls into the field of reeds. And we get the very emotional Wilson scene, basically, of them yelling back and forth to each other like, "No," and then he gets absorbed into the sand and finishes death pose, the same pose that Crowley was doing in episode 1. And then the scales finally balance.
They bounce.
And Mark is allowed into the field of reeds, and then the episode ends.
Yep.
I did like this episode.
This was a lot of people's favorite episode.
Oh yeah.
But there's one huge flaw, which it's not a flaw given the information that we knew at the time, but it is a huge flaw after knowing what we know. If there were 2 of them, Steven and Mark, and one dies and then the scales balance, that's fine, that makes sense. But there's not 2 of them.
There were 3 of them. Mm-hmm. Right. So why did it balance if once 2?
Yeah. That is I can understand that too, because that was my whole thing. I thought that was going to be the reveal of. That seemed like the most ideal moment to reveal Mark was this whole they need to balance the scales. And when they first showed the scene of Mark drinking by the car or whatever, I thought that was going to be a memory of Jake. And because they both kind of walk up and like, "Do you remember this memory?" And I thought Mark's response was going to be, "No, I don't remember this," but he played it off like, "It's just whatever." So yeah, that would have made the most sense to me to explain that, introduce the third version, and then that's how they can balance the scales. But I guess they wanted to keep it more for the bigger reveal that, oh, Mark is still there. They don't know about Mark, and Khonshu still has control, so that's why they didn't do it like that, I'm guessing, so that they have a way to go moving forward with Khonshu still being in the picture. But like you're saying, yeah, it makes that explanation of them being able to balance the scales without even realizing there's a third version going on. Like how does that work?
It's their scales, Mark and Steven's only. Well, you can't say it's only their scales, J-Mad Dawg, when there's definitely a third personality that definitely played a part, which was revealed not only by people watching the episode, but by Marvel themselves. Saying yes, there all of this time has been a third personality.
Yeah,
They didn't really talk about third personality.
If they had full on like no knowledge that there's a third personality at all, I guess it would somewhat make more sense in the sense that like oh yeah, as far as we know, it's just the 2 of us, so we're good and we're fine moving forward from there. But like they have the scene earlier where they both are like oh, how could you do this? Like, I didn't do that. You did that. Like, no, I didn't do it. So they're not, I guess, not fully aware that there is a third personality at that moment until the the finale, for what we'll talk about in a moment.
And I get that, J-Mad Dawg. She only pulled out 2 hearts, but in the end, it was 3 people. Regardless of how many hearts she pulled out, there were 3 personalities. Technically, should have been 3 hearts, but
maybe Khonshu. This could be an explanation. Maybe Khonshu has some way of being able to hide this third persona from that whole thing that I don't know. Maybe.
Or, if I might like to interject, maybe the person who wrote this series knew as much about balancing as he knew about trials.
Very. Very much.
Remember, I'm bad cop today. It just that seems like a huge flaw. Like, I understood where they wanted to go, but if you want to go someplace, don't leave out things out of convenience sake. If you don't want to have Jake be brought out just yet, find another way. There are other ways to do it instead of leaving gaping plot points, because the nerds will find them.
Yeah.
Yes, they will.
By they, we mean we.
I am the nerds.
I am the nerds. I speak for the nerds.
That's right.
So nerdy.
So yeah, that's everything for episode 5 though. Overall,
yeah, so now
my favorite episode.
And then there was 6.
Oh, the way that sounds makes me feel like you really enjoyed episode 6.
I'm gonna let y'all recap. I'm gonna mute myself. So, but I'll let y'all go.
All right. So I don't have a lot of. I didn't get around to taking my notes down for episode 6 on this one.
I didn't either. I didn't even get a second chance. This was a busy week.
It was, and plus I decided to throw in completing all of Act 7 on Friday and Saturday.
Right.
I think I strained for a total of like.
It was like 8-9 hours.
Saturday was 11 alone, and then Friday I think was like another 4. So it's like 15 hours of streaming over a course of 2 days.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a lot. And then yesterday was Mother's Day, and then ended up going golfing. And today I had to work, and so I didn't really have much time. I reviewed stuff on Doctor Strange before I did the finale for Moon Knight, so I figured Doctor Strange, I'd like to be able to have some talking points for that before Moon Knight finale episode. But overall, I thought the finale was pretty solid.
I felt like it was rushed. I kind of felt like how I felt about the very first Captain America. Mm-hmm. I felt like it was rushed.
Okay.
And my reason for me saying that was on Captain America, the first Avenger, I felt like they rushed the movie to hurry up and get Avengers out.
Mm-hmm.
On this one, I felt like, we spent so long in the duat, now we got to hurry and put this in together.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of it was a lot of action, but it was all packed into like the last, I don't know what, like 30 minutes, 25 minutes of the show.
It's like all the fighting and everything we expected to get out of the Moon Knight character that we wanted to see throughout the series. They are like,
but you did
all right, now let's do it all in this one.
Yeah, but you did get to see Steven and Mark,
which I did enjoy it. Yeah, I liked the way that they, at this point, they've now become accepting of each other and realize how to work as a team, basically, as opposed to like, let me have control. They're together and switching back and forth, being able to utilize each other's skill sets when they need it.
Even talking to Khonshu, it was like, so let's talk about this arrangement.
Yeah, they're like, okay, obviously we have this going on, and like Ahmet's about to get released, but they're just like, look, first off, we need to get this straight. When we finish this, you release us. And Khonshu very clearly states, I'll release you both. And both implying you too.
You too.
Yes.
Which didn't make sense at that time, but it makes more sense at the end.
Yes, once the finale came. We also got the fun scene with Layla thinking like, I can go after Harrow by myself. I got this. And Harrow goes and basically kills those guards. And all of a sudden, one of the dead bodies just
starts moving
and talking again. And it's Taurette. And she's like trying to like, look, hey, let me help you. Mark sent me, and she's just like, what? What? No,
Mark
no,
is dead.
I
I'm
got
talking
this.
through you to a dead person. It's
Yeah,
all good.
yeah. Finally, she convinces him to listen to her and not take on Harrow by herself. So she sneaks back into the cave, um, and eventually gets to release Khonshu. And when she does, while she's doing that, Harrow is in the midst of releasing Ahmet. Ahmet is kind of talking to Harrow, saying like, "Oh, you're not a good person." Like,
Yeah, your skills
and
are
he's just like, "If
balanced.
I'm your first one, you need to judge. So be it. I accept my fate." And then she basically goes against her own judgment
Yep.
style of like, well, I can use you still. You have a purpose. And it's like, oh, well, he's clearly done evil things though. Like, isn't that the people that you judge and you send to hell? But okay, whatever. So while that's all happening, Layla releases Khonshu, and then Khonshu's like, oh, he senses that Mark is dead. And he's like, I am in need of an avatar. Layla, you're the lucky contestant. Can I take over? And she just says no. And he's like, well, tartar sauce. This sucks. I'll go take on Ahmet myself then. And that goes really well. Yeah, he's able to just... No, that doesn't. Just kidding. So he kind of appears in before they like fight each other, whatever. Flashes back to Mark in the field of reeds and Tauret, and Mark's just like, this isn't
right.
This isn't right. I don't deserve this. Decides to go back. I don't really understand how this all worked, because 1 second he's in the field of reeds, and then all of a sudden he turns around and walks back, and then he's in the sand again. So I don't understand.
Basically, since you've shown that he left the field of reeds,
I guess, and all he had to do was turn around to do that.
So, yeah.
And I think, let's see. So then he's wandering through there. Let's see. And then he sees Steven, and then it jumps back to to Ahmet and Khonshu talking again, figuring out what they're gonna do.
Well, not figuring out what they're going to do. There's Khonshu's trying to stop Ahmet.
Well, yeah, they're just like they're just discussing. Nothing crazy's happening yet. They're just kind of like talking, and Khonshu's like, "I'm going to stop you," blah blah blah. And then it goes back to Mark and Steven on the sand in front of the... Oh, what's it called? I have it written down.
In front of the gates of Osiris.
Yes, the gates of Osiris. That's the one. And I don't remember exactly what Mark says here, but basically just says like, look, you didn't deserve this. And somehow he comes back to life.
It was the heart.
Yeah,
it's
the heart.
Speech in the heart. The gates of Osiris crack open, granting Stephen and Mark's heart to be favored. I guess at that point, that's what I can.
I don't understand it. It doesn't make sense to me how they're able to come back to life. Like he puts a heart in their hands, and that's you guys. Okay, you're not dead. I know you both got shot, but you can come back. I see Cameron unmuted. Do you have something to say?
I'm just listening to this, and now I've watched it, but I'm listening to you saying I don't know how they came back to life. The nerds are like, I don't know. So our casual people are going to be like, oh wow, this is so thought provoking. I really thought... No, they're going to be like, I don't know. And if the nerds don't know...
Again, referring back to, as stated earlier, we are the nerds.
We are the nerds.
I mean, because we're the ones sitting here talking about
it.
we
like all the other nerds who do
it. Exactly what happens, but whenever you are trying to make up, this is how they're going to come back. I don't buy it. You obviously don't buy it. Nobody's going to buy it.
I bought it. Again, I bought it because I live in the world of Let be entertained.
Going back to the stars getting moved, like we don't have to understand it.
We don't have to understand it. We just have to be entertained by it.
Yeah.
Was I entertained?
We knew, of course, that they were going to have to come back somehow. I was just hoping that it was going to be better explained and it made more sense than...
I thought Mark was going to move on without Steven. I thought Steven followed in the doo-wop meant that Mark was now ready to move forward without him. Mm-hmm. And going to episode 6 just showed even more so how he needed Steven for his life overall. Like, seriously, dude.
So it's like getting rid of Steven is what balanced the scale.
It's what balanced the scale.
But allowing Steven back into his life is what allows him to return back to life?
No, it wasn't that. It wasn't Steven allowed him to turn back to life. The gates of Osara opened up in the heart. I don't know. It was something about the heart and Osara granting. Look, don't think about it. Just go with it.
All right.
Just enjoy the moment. You can interpret it how you want.
The very touching moment is a very special moment.
Very touching moment between the two.
But
again, I go back to Mark or Steven falling off the boat and turning into sand. The scales bouncing. To me, showed that Mark no longer needed Steven to continue to keep moving forward. It's like he shared everything with inside himself. He opened up the doors. He got it all out, and now he's able to move forward. But no. Mark said no. I need to go get my better half, and he goes back to the sand and dies in the sand with him. Thank Osara that he opened the gate and granted them passage at the point when he did. Otherwise, we'd have 2 sand statues and a whole lot of dead bodies.
It's basically the ending plot of Frozen. I'm not wrong.
I'm literally sitting here watching the fire that I've created by following the rule. What would Neil deGrasse Tyson do? And I'm just like,
it is though. Like the whole like the heart and like the freezing and ice is just, this one is sand. Like it just is, and then they're like, oh, that's all it was, true love. But it wasn't.
Like, yes, it was true love.
Yeah, true love with themselves, and
true
we're gonna get a
power that saved them, like all other Disney shows.
All right. So, anyways, as then they stumble to the gates. They get through the gates, and then it flashes back to. First off, actually, the sand tries to consume them before,
and then you hear the hippo say,
Towerette is just like
big softy.
Surfing the boat, and smashes through the sand.
To allow them to get in.
Yeah. Then we get back to the real world where Khonshu is in a fight with Ahmet, and in the midst of that, Khonshu's kind of getting his butt kicked. He senses that Mark...
He was getting hammered.
Yeah. He senses that Mark has returned as Mark comes back to life, and he's obviously getting ready to die again because there are still the bullet holes in him, as we mentioned earlier. They quickly go through the whole, like, do you accept this ring? No, that's not the
I do.
Basically, he allows Khonshu to take over control again and becomes Moon Knight, and we discover he can fly, apparently. I didn't know Moon Knight could fly.
Yes, he can. Because his cape makes this wind thing, and then Khonshu controls the sky.
Okay.
And I mean, he already made the stars do the thing. Look, Captain, what I tell you, enjoy the show for what it is.
He's got a cape, so obviously he can fly.
Obviously he can fly.
And before he flies off, which is a completely confirmed thing that he can do.
Before he pulls the Superman?
He has that discussion we talked about Khonshu releasing them once they finish the fight. So then after that happens, we flash back to Layla in the cave, and she's holding the god, which that one was Osiris, right? Or was that someone else? Was that a different?
Yeah, that was Osiris. Yeah, his avatar.
Okay, he's like dying, and she's just like, tell me, how can we stop him? Like, and then what is it he tells her? I have it.
He's like, we don't have enough gods.
Oh, that's right. He tells her we need to imprison Ahmet in a living person in order to get rid of her. So that's when she gets the idea, like, okay, we need to get her back into Harrow and then lock him up. And that's when we get the cool scene where Tauret asks Layla if she can be her avatar. And that was a pretty fun scene where Layla then gets to play kind of the DID version of playing two characters in one scene. It's not full on DID, but it's like she's playing two characters.
More so, she's Layla, and then Tauret inhabits her body to try to talk to her. And then kind of go back and forth, And she's like,
have a cool suit. I have a cool suit.
I have a cool suit. I have a great idea for a suit.
Yeah. And then Moon Knight is then flying as Harrow gets on top of the pyramid and is about to judge the entire city of Cairo. And then they start their fight as the Harrow's minions are walking through the town, judging people, consuming souls that are coming
all I gotta say is that kick that Mark gave Harrow was legit.
The what?
That knee to the chin. That was legit, bruh. The knee to the chin on the pyramid. Like, he was flying through the sky.
Oh, it's the very first
and then
fight.
They both start running. Mark's running up the pyramid.
Yeah.
He's running down the pyramid, and he gives him that jump chin kick.
I mean, I'm done after that one. I don't know how Harrow continued, but I'm lights out from that moment.
Yeah, I'd have been like,
all right, you win.
You know what? Never mind. I'm done. Call timeout.
But I guess
timeout on this.
He's infused with the power of Ahmet at this point, I guess. So he's able to take a few more hits than I could. Then we get the big.
We get a couple big fight scenes.
This is when this fight scene is like. Obviously, like, in my opinion, the best fight scene of the series, which isn't saying much because there wasn't that many, I guess. But it's up there in terms compared to the other fight scenes we've had on Disney Plus so far. I think this one was really well done. So this starts off with Moon Knight then flying again, and there's a cool part of this that I saw a video point out where Harrow's holding on to him by his cape. So obviously he can't get rid of him. So what he does is he switches to Steven's version of Mr. Knight, who doesn't have a cape. So Harrow loses his grip. That way Mark could then get back control of it when he lets him back into the Mark Moon Knight character. Then Moon Knight grabs him, and then they fall to the ground. And they start their little fight. They're going back and forth at it. Right as it seems like Harrow's about to get the upper hand, that's when Layla shows up in her scarlet scarab outfit, looking fantastic, I must add. And there's a kind of a cool interaction back and forth between Mark seeing her and then Steven seeing her, where Mark's just like happy to see her in general, like, oh, you're alive still, I'm glad to see you. And then Steven's just like, oh, look at you. You look amazing.
I'm ready to show. Yeah, he's like admiring her outfit.
Yeah.
He's ready to show all their new skill sets.
Yeah.
He's like, look at this. Look what we can do.
Yeah. And this was this is the part that I really liked about this fight is when Mark and Steven are switching back and forth between doing their fights. And one thing I noticed in this that was actually pretty cool that I didn't actually see someone mention any breakdowns was how the whole series is kind of hinged on the fact of Steven not wanting to be violent and hurt people and kill people, where Mark was very clearly okay with killing people. And in this fight, if you rewatch this scene, whenever he's the Steven character, he's only using the batons and like
Using
beating
the
people up
batons.
and like knocking them down.
Knocking
Whereas
them
when
out.
he's in the Moon Knight Mark character, he's full on just like grabbing those moon
Crescent moon things.
moonerangs and throwing them and stabbing people right in the heart. Like those
The
people
unlimited
aren't just getting knocked
we
out.
still have to talk about this. The unlimited amount of crescent moons that he had.
Yeah, how does he have?
was
How does that
impressive.
work? How does he have an unlimited amount of those?
They don't have their independent
Khonshu.
evaluators or
Got it. Okay, that explains everything.
Thank you.
Accept it, Ghost Dog.
Accept
Okay,
it.
you just gotta
Accept it,
accept
Ghost
things
Dog.
sometimes, you know.
Oh, I accepted it. I just want to make sure we pointed it out though,
Yeah.
because that was like impressive.
And we get some more badass moments from Layla. As the fight again, as we found out earlier in the series, this wasn't random. Like, oh, she's possessed by a god. She obviously knows how to fight now. It's like, no, she already knew how to fight. And I like how too. Again, it's like Mark or Steven knows how to fight now because he's realized at this point that he is Mark, so he has this skill
Yeah,
set.
they're
He
one
just
and the same. Yeah.
in his mind he didn't know he had it. Kind of like it was almost like
He kinda had
Matrix
referenced
level,
it
like, oh,
early
this has
on.
now been injected into my memory, into my
Yeah.
brain. I know how to do it.
Yeah, he kind of referenced it early on in the series, like muscle memory.
Basically, Moon Knight
But-
is Neo, is what I'm saying here.
Yeah,
Beat me to it. I was literally about to say, Steven comes back and he's like, I know Kung Fu.
Yeah.
Mark is like, show me.
Yeah.
Like if they
So we
And-
go to a big fight scene.
Yeah.
We have essentially Harrow handling both of them at some point. Knocks Layla off by not knocking her off. She went to go save the little girl.
Yeah, there was a car that had a bunch of people
That was
in it that she
people
decides
in
to
it
go
gonna
to save.
roll over this little girl and saved her.
Yeah.
And at that point, Harrow gets the upper hand on Mark, takes it to the ground, puts the staff into his chest. Looks like he's about to kill him, and we get another another blackout, and all of a sudden,
Everything's destroyed.
Everything is up.
Harrow he's literally about to like get killed by one of those moons. But backing up a little bit, I did want to mention, like, in that scene too where Layla runs off to save the people and she saves the little girl, like, I understand
superhero.
I understand why they said the line, but it just felt real cheesy and forced to
Felt
me.
super cheesy.
It was like, are you an Egyptian hero? Yeah. Cool. Because I didn't already put that together in my head that she was Egyptian and she's now a superhero.
Oh,
Okay.
wait a minute.
It needed to be
What?
vocalized.
Where did they copy Ahmet sucking up the souls? Wasn't that from Shang-Chi? Where they were sucking the
a little bit
sucking
similar,
the
yeah.
souls,
Yeah,
and it was getting bigger, and that's what was happening to Ahmet. She
Yeah.
was like sucking the souls, and she went from being like the little thing, and then like the girl from what's the stupid Power Ranger show, Make My Monster Grow thing.
Gotcha.
Got like
Yeah.
super big. Like,
Yeah.
what is up with that? But yeah.
Yeah, so that was a cheesy thing. But yeah, so it flashes. He has the blackout, comes to, and he's actually holding the staff. That's what it was. He was holding Harrow's
Like
staff.
he was about to put it
Like
through.
about to just put
Harrow's
it through
head.
his skull. And then he stops and he stands up, looks around, and then Layla's just like, what the heck was that? And they're both just like, that wasn't me.
don't know.
That wasn't me. And they're just like, okay. Interesting. And how did they get...
So they drug Harold back to the pyramid of Geezer, put him on because Osiris had told
they
Layla
do the... Yeah, and then they start
this is
chanting...
our most powerful area.
Yeah, and they start chanting the spell that the
that
gods
they
earlier
that they
used.
never knew before.
Yeah, that I guess the god had told Layla before he died.
Apparently,
I'm guessing. Or no, was it? Or did?
no, because Tarot didn't take, or old girl didn't take
say,
over,
did
and Mark
Tarot-
started singing it,
You know what?
and it wasn't Khonshu because Khonshu was out there getting his tail kicked.
Yeah. So either way, they start chanting that while Khonshu's fighting her, and she gets
No,
consumed.
Khonshu got his tail whipped.
Yeah,
Ahmet was dragging Khonshu back.
Yeah. And they lock away Ahmet into Harrow. And then
you call Ahmet was not Chris Rock, was Dave Chappelle, and Khonshu was the guy after the Dave Chappelle thing. That's essentially what that was.
Dude, that guy got messed up.
He got messed up. And so did Khonshu.
Yeah.
So there's that. That's essentially what happened. But they did entrap Ahmet in Harrow's body.
And then Khonshu's telling
Khonshu's
Mark
like,
to finish it,
kill him,
end it here.
Because if she can find a way to escape, so on and so forth.
And then Mark throws the moon knife.
Well, Layla pretty much tells him that you have a choice. You don't have to do this.
Yeah. And he says, "I'm not going to do it. You kill him yourself," which basically he does later.
Smart enough.
Yeah. And then after that, it flashes. We get a very unexpected scene back in Dr. Harrow's office.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't really. This part I didn't understand either. How it, like, what?
Well, Khonshu released Mark and Steven.
After he released them,
that's
they
when
flashed.
That's when they go back to the scene. Essentially, that was probably more of being back inside Mark and Steven's mind, of them understanding what was going on. You can see the blood trail from
the foot.
Harrow's feet. Harrow's like, what is going on? And Mark and Steven are both telling him like, yo, we have the choice. We can do this, do that, and we're out of here. And Steven hits him with a Later's Gators, and they flip down and wakes up in the bed. It's like, okay, that was all real weird.
Yeah.
But they're in the bed, strapped in the bed by the ankle. I don't know. At this point, I was like, so was it all real? Was it all fake? What parts were real? What parts were fake? But it essentially come to find out that I believe it was all real, because in the end credit scenes, we go back to see Dr. Harold, who's now in a actual facility, who actually is being carted off by somebody.
And while he was being carted off, he actually got a QR code. I don't know if you saw that.
Yes, a QR code for a
Moon Knight Acts of Evil, which was Moon Knight fighting
Kang.
Kang. So, a Kang reference.
A second Kang reference, yeah. And then as we go down the hallway, you see the dead attendee. You see he wheels him out, opens the door. He kind of laughs, throws him in. They throw him in the car. You get a quick glimpse that you see that it's Oscar Isaac's character, but wearing the traditional cabbie hat of Jake.
Mm-hmm.
So at that point, you're like, "Oh my God, is this Jake? Are we?"
All the people who
Jake?
knew about Jake being a possibility in the show had realized at this point what it was. I'm interested to hear someone's opinion who has no idea of what was going on.
Yeah, the concept pretty much breaks down to Harold / Ahmet. That I didn't really want Layla. Why would I want Layla when I have all these different personalities of Mark Scepter?
Yeah, because Harold's like, oh, you don't have an avatar now, and he's like, oh, but I do. Haha. Meet my buddy Jake Lockley, and then we get the evil stare through the mirror. And then he turns around with a grin on his face, puts the gun up, and starts firing away, and doesn't even blink. He's just like, this guy. He enjoys doing this, so.
This is something he likes.
In for trouble for something here. So, and that's a wrap on Moon Knight. So,
that is it.
Overall, I enjoyed it. There were the parts that we talked about that kind of, take you out of the realist of it all, but. For a character that we had no introduction of beforehand, I think it was a pretty good introduction into the MCU. I do hope he shows up in something in the future, or we do get a season 2 exploring this Jake Lockley character. I think they definitely have teased that we're going to get more with Jake. If they just leave it on that cliffhanger for eternity, seems like a waste, especially because how good of an actor Oscar Isaac has been throughout this.
But from
he
my
definitely
understanding, Oscar
deserves
Isaac did
a
this role
follow-up to
because
this.
there was no long-term movie for it.
Yeah, I don't know.
So, or no long-term deal. So is it just going to be one more season with Jake? You know, Jake being brought more into the forefront as the Moon Knight. What does Jake's costume look like? And
I want to know that.
He's actually wrapped in the guard.
Because right now, the only person that knows what it looks like is probably Layla.
I don't even know. Yeah, maybe.
Because she clearly knows. She's like, what just happened?
What just happened?
Like,
right.
What was that? Like, yeah, so she was there for the whole thing.
So it'll be pretty interesting to see how that all tails. Cameron, we'll start with you. I think we kind of got a lot of yours early, but we'll come back to you. Good, bad, ugly overall.
Chris, eat that season
overall.
And tell Chris to eat whatever his mom was telling him to eat. Please.
Yeah, you better not get in trouble. Overall, my least favorite MCU show of all of them.
Overall, the least favorite?
Wow.
I recently was on my Twitter and I ranked all of the shows. And I didn't even rank them based on my personal feelings, but I ranked them based on how I felt they were as a whole. From a writing, acting standpoint, I still rate WandaVision as the best show that they've done, with the complexities, with the intricacies. After that, I put Loki as a close second. Third, I believe I put in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. No, third I actually put Hawkeye. Fourth I put Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Fifth, What If. Last, bottom, Moon Knight.
For several reasons. Real big different order.
Mine too, yeah.
And I'm perfectly fine with that. I am okay with hot takes, but I don't just do them to get reactions. I do them because I have, there's a lot
reasons to back it up. Yeah.
And mainly, here's my biggest problem with Moon Knight. And I didn't say this earlier because I wanted to wait until after you talked about episode 6. Harrow has Moon Knight and the Scarlet Scarab on the ropes. His eyes flash, and boom. Now he's got the upper hand. Harrow's been defeated by an off-screen fight in the climax of the season. In what world does that make sense as a director or a cinematographer or anybody that is creating a visual spectacle to completely excise the most entertaining and quite possibly important aspect of the show, if not the episode? Nowhere. And because of that, episode 6 fails in every single aspect from a story writing standpoint. Even though I rated Hawkeye as third and I dislike what they did with Kingpin in episode 6, there's enough going on and you do visually get to see what's going on there. Whereas in Moon Knight, you get to miss the most entertaining thing. That's like watching WrestleMania and completely skipping the final one. And you not knowing what happened. You just see, oh, Undertaker won. Cool. No, not cool. You missed something important. You missed something meaningful. And when Moon Knight did this, even though they're trying to keep this Jake character under their hat for the most part for season 2 or whatever, you failed from a visual storytelling standpoint, from an entertaining standpoint. And because of that omission, it could have been there. It could have been above What If for me. But when they did that, dead last. Dead last.
Cap, give us your rankings. Give us your rankings, good, bad, ugly. What did you really like? What you thought they really needed to work on?
Me?
Yeah.
Okay.
The only captain we got here.
I didn't hear captain. It kind of cut out.
I told you my voice might give out.
So for rankings for me, Loki is still number 1. I have WandaVision number 2, and those are almost interchangeable. I think no one's most people are in agreement that those two are unanimously number 1 and 2 in whatever order you like. For me, I just put 2 a little bit more ahead of it because I feel like Loki, the introduction of Kang and everything, has just such a wider impact on the MCU moving forward. Where WandaVision, clearly, as we'll get into in a little bit, was basically a prequel to Doctor Strange. And beyond that, not much else. And then for me, I'm putting Moon Knight in at number 3 actually, and then Falcon Winter Soldier, What If, and Hawkeye. Probably Hawkeye, then What If. I don't know. It's hard for me to really rank What If next to the live action ones.
Look,
I love episode 4 of What If. The Doctor Strange one is my favorite one. So there are episodes of it that I really enjoyed. Overall, though, it's hard to really rank it above one of the live action ones for me. And for Hawkeye, I don't know. It just felt more like a Christmas series with like some superheroes in it. I don't know. It was good, and I liked the Kingpin tie-ins and everything. But it felt more so like a send-off series for a character that who knows if we're going to see Hawkeye again, and then we're going to get this new character moving forward, and who knows how much we'll get of her. I don't know. So that's where my rankings are at.
Okay. All right. I'm going to go with Loki as my top,
okay,
followed by WandaVision, and then third would be Captain America and Winter Soldier, followed then by Moon Knight, What If, and I definitely, out of all the ones, I felt like Hawkeye was the least of my. There were some nice storylines in there that brought in some characters like, what's her name? Sister was in there.
Yelena Belova.
Yelena, but the Kingpin thing was cheesy. It was a cheesy Kingpin compared to the Kingpins we've seen in the past.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It just felt really off to me.
Yeah, I would love a series with Yelena Belova and Haley Steinfeld. I keep forgetting her name. What's her character's name?
Kate Bishop.
Yeah, Kate Bishop spin-off with Yelena Belova. I want that.
Yeah, that would be nice.
The two of them together was anytime they were on camera, like that story arc with them both on screen was always my favorite part of that show.
Yeah.
Like they had really good chemistry together. Not to say that her and Clint Barton didn't, but it just, I don't know, it felt different. I liked it more.
Yeah.
Overall the series was just
Yeah, for sure. Real quick, let's get to the chat. The chat was J Mad Dog said this was my favorite, then Loki, then Wanda. DTM says I need to rewatch WandaVision, but without going back. I think Multiverse of Madness makes WandaVision better. Agree they did it on a smaller scale earlier in the episode with Harrow confronting the avatars, and then the camera pans away. Yeah, he was referring back to what Cameron was saying about the big fight scenes, them panning away from all the fights. And then Hawkeye was okay overall, but the series in general was just cheesy. I agree with all that. So let's wrap this up with Moon Knight. We're a little over 2 hours in talking about it, so I want to get to some Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah.
So I want to give people time who have not seen Multiverse of Madness. This is your spoiler alert. We're going to talk about it. It's time for you to go. Unless you want to be spoiled.
We want you here, but we don't want you here, but we don't want to ruin it
if you don't want it ruined. So 3, 2, 1. Okay, so Multiverse of Madness, Doctor Strange, bruh. I dug it. I loved it. I thought it was a 9 out of 10 overall. I felt like you knew once you seen the villain come on screen, you knew exactly who the villain was before they even announced themselves as the villain. I thought the trailers were somewhat misleading. And I love the way they portrayed the villain overall. Which, was this person really a villain? Or was it a continuation of what was going on earlier in their time? That's about the only non-spoiler I'm going to give, because everything else from here on out, we're going to spoil it. So, Cameron,
I did not. I did not love this movie. I liked this movie. I didn't hate it. You know, lately it's been very. Hold on, just a moment. Lately, you know, it's become very popular for things to be polarized. It's either a love or a hate, and that's not the case. I liked Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. I did do a ranking. I gave it like a 67 out of 100. So it's a little bit on the lower side that most people gave it. But that didn't mean that I hated the movie. That just meant that there were quite a few flaws that I found. I did think that the trailers were very misleading about the villain. That's a good thing. And the setup for the movie turned out well. It wasn't my favorite thing about the movie. It was okay. Where I really found a little bit of a sour taste in my mouth was the last act, which we can get into the details of it here in a little bit. And there is one thing that I feel like the movie definitely should have done that was a complete whiff of an opportunity. But like I said, I'll get to that later.
All right, Captain.
Yeah, I'd say I feel like I'm in between the two of you. Like I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it as well. But I think I rated it a little bit more than Camden does. Is it going to be? It's not going to be like one of my top 5 favorite MCU movies. I don't even know if it'd be top 10, maybe top 15. I don't know. I'd have to. I've never done an actual official ranking of like all of the MCU movies, but like I'd have to. That's a long list, a lot of work to do. So I don't know where it would rank, but it wouldn't be more toward the bottom. I think it'd be at least in the upper half. I will say that. A lot of great fan service. Kind of right up there with Spider-Man No Way Home with the fan service here. And some of it, some parts of the story I really liked. I did like, again, like you said, with the villain of it and everything, where I think we all had a good idea who the villain was going to end up being, and I think it was really well done though. And we see the gradual descent into darkness that this character goes, that I think was really cool. It's a very dark movie. What I think they've kind of referred to it as the first kind of horror-ish movie in the MCU. Like there are a lot of horror aspects of it that were pretty intense. Cameron's saying it's probably about 20 for me.
Number 20 on the bottom.
How many are there total now?
It's a billion. So 20 is pretty good.
Okay. There's 28. Okay. So he has it in his lower third, basically. But yeah, I did. I really liked it overall. I'm probably gonna end up going and seeing it again in the theaters before it's out, mainly because I have a movie pass thing and I can basically go see it for free again.
Yeah,
so
I think we're gonna go try see it in 3D this time.
Okay.
Just because of all the moving parts and aspects, I think the 3D aspect of it would probably be really smooth, really nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just think for me, my biggest question coming out of it is, because I guess now we're getting to like full on, because up until now I think all of our reviews were kind of still a little bit spoiler free ish. So one last final warning, about to drop some spoiler stuff here. So get out of the chat while you can if you don't want to spoil anything. I heard third at the beginning and end was 3D.
Yeah, at the beginning and the end was good.
Okay.
Yeah, I can see that because you open up with Doctor Strange and America Chavez fighting this being, but it's not our Doctor Strange. It's a Doctor Strange from a whole nother multiverse.
Yeah.
And this thing is chasing them for Chavez's power. They don't know why. But that Doctor Strange said, well, I'd be better off with this power than them taking it from you. Because you can't beat it. And so he basically tried to kill America Chavez.
He mirrors the same thing he said that our Doctor Strange said about the villains in Spider-Man, where he said, your sacrifice means infinitely more in the grand scheme of the multiverse, or something, whatever that whole quote was.
Yeah, the whole
We're saying like,
thing was,
look, we're sacrificing these guys. They have to go back to their universes because if they stay here, the whole multiverse is at stake. And he's basically saying the same thing to her, like, look, I need to sacrifice you because it means more to the multiverse if I allow this creature to get you. And it also mirrors what Doctor Strange had said back in Infinity War to Tony Stark, saying, if it comes down to you, the kid, or the stone, I'm taking the stone. Like, your guys' sacrifice, I don't care about it. So it's kind of cool to see that continuity of Stephen Strange across the multiverse. That's kind of always his first priority, is what's going to benefit overall, not just like, what do I feel like is the right thing to do, kind of thing. Yeah, and then they don't get to the Book of Ashanti. The monster.
No, but Chavez ends up opening up a portal.
Yeah, and sends her to our universe, which then flashes to the wedding, right?
Yes.
Well, at first he's at his house, like getting ready. He wakes up. That's what it is. He wakes up having the dream. Yeah,
that's right. Because to him it was a dream.
Yeah.
So he wakes up and gets prepared to go to this wedding. The wedding is of his very, very, very close friend, essentially the woman he loved, Christine, was getting married.
This whole movie was kind of about him accepting to move on and allow himself to be happy. In part, because that's a theme that gets brought up a couple times throughout the movie.
Are you happy?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I will say this wedding completely undermines the entire theme of episode 4 of What If. Completely undermines. Like, I was under the impression that What If is canon, and that Christine's death is an absolute point. An absolute point. So, what the heck? That's my first thing I wanted to jump in.
She just hasn't died yet.
She just hasn't died yet? Okay. Well, she sure is taking her sweet time.
It's either that or What If isn't canon. Because
I was under the impression that they said, oh, it was, but,
Yeah,
there was a lot of references about What If back to Doctor Strange.
I felt like this movie was gonna tie more into What If, and while there are parts of it that do reference it, it seems like
right.
We have the cartoon universe, we have Captain Carter, but it wasn't the. I thought, and I think a lot of theories out there were that this Illuminati was going to be a multiverse Illuminati, and that Captain Carter that we seen that was teased was going to be the Captain Carter from the What If series. That's where I was going into it, seeing the spoilers of Captain Marvel, or Captain Carter, I mean, which I was kind of bummed that I had seen those spoilers that she was going to be in it. I wish I hadn't gotten that spoiled. And same with Maria Rambeau. I was pretty confident that was going to be her. That's my own fault for seeing spoiler stuff and not avoiding enough. Luckily, though, the other two big teasers or cameos that happened, I was not spoiled, but I was hoping that was who they were going to be, and when it actually happened, though, I was still shocked by it.
Yeah. So we kind of jumped a little bit ahead.
Yeah. I don't know. You said we're kind of like we took a while on Moon Knight. I don't know how in depth we want to go on everything for Doctor Strange. We just want to talk about it.
We don't have to go super in depth. We can kind of talk about some of our favorite parts.
Okay.
So let's do that. Let's talk about, since you're there, let's talk about some of the things you heard beforehand. What were some of your favorite parts after you actually watched it?
Okay,
so already kind of touched on a few of them.
Yeah. So going into it, I'd seen like on the teaser poster, there was like you could see Captain Carter's shield on there. So I was like, oh, okay, there's a good chance Captain Carter's going to show up at some point. And then in the latest the last trailer they showed, you actually like see her throwing the shield and like I think fighting against Wanda, and Wanda becoming the villain. I think that was kind of spoiled early on for me.
Not for me. I was very surprised.
Oh, really?
Very surprised.
Yeah,
I was
okay.
also
Because the
surprised.
trailers made it look like Wanda and Doctor Strange were working with America Chavez to save her.
Yeah.
Together. Not to save America Chavez. Whatever was going on, they were all working together.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, I watched too many breakdowns where they pointed out in the trailers where you see that it's Wanda that's breaking into the Illuminati facility. Oh, that was another thing. I was kind of bummed they revealed the
This is
whole
why I
Illuminati.
only-
Like,
this is why I
wish
only
if
watched.
if they had as cool as it was that Professor X was revealed in the trailer. Like, why? Why reveal that in the trailer? Like, that's
the
so
only trailer-
massive.
Right. But that was the only trailer I watched, was the very first trailer.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else that popped up that said Doctor Strange, blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah, I swiped it, I moved past it,
Yeah.
I moved from it. I wasn't watching any of it. I didn't
Yeah.
want to know anything else.
So yeah, in the trailer someone broke it down and they showed where like you see her breaking in and you see America Chavez in the container and Christine is there blocking, and so you see that it's clear that Wanda is the one that's trying to break in, and then you see her fighting Maria Rambeau. So that was spoiled that Maria Rambeau was going to be Captain Marvel. People were trying to say they thought that was going to be Tom Cruise in the suit. I'm like, that person clearly has tits. Like, come on, it's not a dude. It's not Tom Cruise. As cool as it would have been to see an Iron Man version of Tom Cruise, no, it was, in my opinion, I was like, that's got to be Maria Rambeau, Captain Marvel, which was still a cool reveal. Clearly, she is the one that did that secret mission instead and got infused with the Tesseract instead.
Tesseract power.
So, which I think that's a perfectly fine explanation. I was totally fine with that. So yeah, those were spoiled, but the Black Bolt introduction, Blackagar Boltagon, I think is his official name or something.
Yeah.
I thought that was really cool to see him in
Okay.
a comic
So
book
I'm
accurate.
going to stop you right there, because the one thing I said was I never felt like the suits were cheesy. So it's either the guy in the suit or the Black Bolt suit itself. I did not like it. I thought something was off. Like either he was too short and stocky instead of being kind of a taller gentleman.
So
Maybe that was it for me.
Did you watch
Yes.
the Inhumans show?
Sadly, I did.
Did you know that it's actually the same actor?
Oh, God.
Yeah. You didn't know
That was
that?
the same actor.
He looked terrible.
I thought this was a much better version. Obviously, in that series, he didn't have an accurate, like he didn't even have a mask or anything.
No, he didn't even have a mask.
In the show. Through this one, he actually had the mask. He had the little, I don't know what it was called.
The fork thing.
Yeah,
and-
fork
and it's
thing,
called-
whatever that
yeah.
is. So it was cool that he came back for that. I thought that was. I was very shocked that it was him.
Yeah.
I did not expect them to ever reference that series ever again. And someone pointed out like the fact that they were willing to bring him back from that series, and they get Patrick Stewart back to play Professor X. The fact that they didn't go to I don't know the guy's name who was in Fantastic Four from any of the
Rudolph.
yes, him or the newer
Miles
one,
Teller.
Miles Teller. They didn't get either of them to come back when clearly they weren't afraid to get previous actors who'd played these roles. They decided to pick John freaking Krasinski, which my
Yes.
theater exploded.
I
the
was
way.
happy when I seen it.
Like the whole theater was so loud and clapping, and I freaked out. Like the fact that they brought him in to be that tells me that when they decide to do Fantastic Four in the main MCU, I'm pretty sure he will be doing it. Plus,
doing
I
it.
did hear today actually there was reports that he might be also directing and starring in
Yes.
Fantastic Four.
Yeah, I heard that too.
Because the guy that was directing, that was
John
scheduled to
Watts.
direct, John Watts was directed to schedule Fantastic Four. He backed out mutually with Marvel, and they're going to allow someone else to come in, I think it's going to be John Krasinski, and he's also going to star in it. So I think that's awesome. And the moment I realized Mr. Fantastic was going to be in it, though, was earlier, like the scene before that when Stephen Strange, when he first wakes up and he's locked in that container, and he's talking to Christine, and she mentions how she works for the Baxter Foundation.
Yes,
Like
yeah.
right there,
So
I turned
I said,
to my buddy
oh,
next
that's
to me, and I was like,
reference.
I was like, Baxter, that's Fantastic Four, and he was like, what? I'm like, just watch, it's happening. So that was really cool. So yeah, but unfortunately, like I said, yeah, I did get some of the stuff spoiled, but a lot of it still was exciting to see it actually play out how it did.
Real quick, DTM is like God has dropped a bunch of things in here. I think her death was an absolute point in that universe, not 616 referring to Christine. The only member that was known that day to him was Professor X. It was rumored a long time ago that Wanda was going to be the villain in this phase, but didn't watch any trailer breakdown, so it was a good reveal. I thought it was the same actor, but I only watched the first episode of Inhumans. He's referring back to Black Bolt.
Lucky.
And then him
I wish I'd
Mr.
only watched the
Fantastic
first
was a great
episode.
call. And a lot of cheers in the theater for him as well. Yeah, our theater kind of clapped and cheered a little bit. Probably not as loud as what you guys were making it. My crowd was probably a little tired. We went at 10 o'clock.
Yeah, everyone screamed in ours.
So there's that. I just want to catch up on that before we got too much further into it.
Yeah, but so basically, but that whole Illuminati scene was probably my favorite part of the movie. I think.
Yeah,
it's the most excited I got.
Preference of what's probably to come.
Like I don't like how it ended with them, but like at least the introduction of them all and seeing it all, I really liked that part. It got me really excited, and the fact that they all just got ripped apart though, like in no time flat. I'm like, you guys are supposed to be the Illuminati. Why don't you go at this? Why don't you go at this as a team? Instead, they all just kind of went at her one at a time, and she just said, "Nope, dead." It's like, okay, that was kind of lame. And now that 838 universe is screwed in terms of their heroes. Like they got nothing.
No. But come to find out that they had to put down their Doctor Strange because he was using the Darkhold.
That was a bit
manifest.
Yeah, I did not see that coming. That was cool.
And basically, that the biggest threat to anybody's multiverse is Doctor Strange.
Yeah,
because apparently he walks in and f's up to a point where it's no good no more.
Mm-hmm.
And that became apparent later on in the movie in another multiverse area where I'm sure that Doctor Strange messed that area up pretty bad.
Yeah, the Sinister Strange one.
Yeah.
The third eye, that was oof.
Yeah. So okay, Cam. I was just gonna go to Cam because he'll be right back. So, what part to you was your least favorite of the movie?
Least favorite.
Because you didn't rate it as high as I did, so obviously you had something you didn't care for.
I don't know. I feel like I haven't watched enough about. I'm like forgetting. My mind is still kind of like a little bit into Moon Knight right now.
Right.
I'm trying to remember. Like. Oh, okay. My roommates just got home, I think. Let me think about that. Let's move to Cameron.
Well,
I'm sure. Yeah, he's back now. You're muted.
What was the question?
He was asking me what was my least favorite part of the movie.
His least favorite, but
I was trying to think of something, but I was like, I can't. I'm sure Cameron's going to mention something. It's going to refresh my memory on the parts because like right now, only the parts I really enjoyed are sticking out, and I can't remember.
My least favorite part.
Yeah.
Let's go with your what you liked about the movie.
Okay, so Act 2.
You still gave it a good grade. You just didn't give it as high as grade as I did.
Yeah. So the Act 2, the Illuminati, is by far and away the most memorable and enjoyable part. seeing characters that we've seen in other universes, but not the MCU, being introduced or reintroduced in some cases, was definitely the highest point for me. Especially Reed Richards, portrayed by John Krasinski. Everybody knew that Professor X was going to be in this. And, if you watch the trailers close enough, you knew that he was going to be in the very classic and iconic yellow hover chair.
Hover chair, yeah.
Part of me hates
And
that,
it played, there's a brief hint of the cartoon theme song too, wasn't there?
So, okay, about that, it was the X-Men theme, but in the credits it says it's the theme from X-Men '97, which is going to be the new animated X-Men cartoon that comes out on Disney Plus next year. Now, that, in all honesty, could be the exact same theme as the original, but the fact that they are specifying that it's from '97 leads me to believe that there's more things ahead. Sorry, somebody's getting fussed at in this house.
Yeah, I hear it.
So, I mean, I really enjoyed that. I hate that. I'm about to go here. I'm going to go here. I hate that Captain Marvel, Rambo, had this very smugness about her. And when I say smugness, I'm not talking about I have all this power. It was very. I'm saying it, even though I might get some. I'm not the king of hot takes, but I'll be the jack of hot takes. It had a very angry black woman-y vibe about it. Now, I understand that she has power. Quite possibly the most powerful one on that panel. But whenever Strange is like saying, hey, this person who has the Darkhold is coming here and is about to destroy everything, she was like, we don't care about that Dreamwalk. We take care of her too. And yes, I'm exaggerating.
No, it's pretty much how it sounded.
Yeah.
But not by much. And I hate that. I feel like her character, out of all of the characters in the Illuminati, was mismanaged. And in fact, I'll even go one step further. I would say that the characters that were the most mismanaged, there were three, was Captain Marvel, Mordo, and Reed Richards. And yes, I do understand that Reed Richards, there wasn't much wrong with it. I say he was mismanaged for one specific reason. But going back to what I was saying before, yeah, she was mismanaged because she just had this incredible sass about her instead of taking this very credible threat, seriously, because Strange was on the Illuminati in their universe. Strangers aren't very different from each other. They are all narcissistic pricks, but they're smart.
Yep.
And
smart prick.
They're smart pricks. That's the thing. And then with Mordo, this person with an incredible magic subset is breaking into your house, and you, being the one who also has an incredibly extensive magic subset, doesn't go do anything about it. Seems a little.
In that world, he was their Sorcerer Supreme at that point, right?
That's exactly right. So the Sorcerer Supreme is in the house, and the house gets broken into by somebody who uses magic, and he's like, you guys go handle this. I'm not, like, he never goes and checks it out. He's so busy worried about Strange. Yeah. And the reason why I say that Reed Richards was mismanaged was because, they go and confront Wanda. Being the smartest person in that universe, you don't tell somebody, by the way, this is this person. This is what he can do. You don't do that crap. That's something a dumb person does.
Right.
And so
she had no clue.
She had no clue. At that point, all he had to do was be like, EB. And he just like, sit down. And then she's done for it.
I think the thing with this Illuminati, they felt very cocky and confident. That goes back to what you're saying about Marie Rambeau. She gave off that vibe of just like, I'll do whatever I want.
Mm-hmm.
It felt like, oh, they've beat Thanos. Nothing's gonna compare to facing him ever again, so they can just handle anything. So they didn't really look at this as a real threat. They're like, no, there's a Doctor Strange here, and that's clearly the biggest threat that we've established. Whatever he's talking about is secondary. We need to handle him first. So they didn't really. They basically defeated themselves by not taking it real for
by being
serious.
overly confident about
Yeah.
things.
Yeah. And I didn't think it was stupid too. Like I said earlier, that they at that point they like start once they actually approach her, they just go one at a time. Like, oh, Black Bolt, you go. Oh, it's like a Pokemon battle.
Work. Well, then
it was like a Pokemon battle. They throw one Pokemon at a time. And then Mr. Fantastic, oh, you go. Oh no, Mr. Fantastic has faded. You deserved a much earned rest. Come back.
Turns into a roll of bubble gum.
Yeah.
And his head got popped.
That was Black Bolt's. Oh yeah, that's right. You're right. Mr. Fantastic's head did get popped too. Yeah.
Got unraveled.
Gets unraveled and then.
We were all traumatized.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my god.
Yeah.
All that as it started unraveling, like, no pun intended there. I was just like, oh, this scene's gonna go very bad.
It went terrible.
And I thought it was kind of lame. Like, everyone else died understandably in a way that made sense. So the one that didn't, though, was Captain Marvel getting smashed by a pillar.
I mean, no
like,
sense whatsoever.
If we're saying she's Captain Marvel, with the knowledge we have of this Captain Marvel character from our universe, we're to assume this Captain Marvel has the same powers.
Right.
She stopped a full gauntlet from Thanos just by stopping it.
Yeah, but Wanda
this one gets smashed by a pillar?
One of the strongest.
Her weakness was Wile E. Coyote Fat Falls. Because that's how you take out Wile E. Coyote. You smash him with a rock.
I guess. It's just, I don't know. That part to me, I'm like, wait, she's dying from a pillar falling on her?
Yeah. No,
like, she flew through an entire ship and destroyed the ship herself. Multiple ships. In her movie, in Endgame. It's kind of her thing. She flies through ships. She can't fly through a pillar? Like,
nope, this pillar killed her.
All right.
These things are not equal.
These things are not equal. So there were characters that were mismanaged in the Illuminati. I would say Black Bolt was not. I would say that everybody loved seeing Patrick Stewart come back as Professor Charles Xavier. I did enjoy Captain Carter. Which
they loved seeing him come back.
I liked the I can do this all day callback.
Oh yeah, that was great.
That was good.
There was a lot to enjoy. Even though I just nitpicked through Act 2, there was a lot to enjoy from Act 2. But getting to the things that I didn't like, Act 3, we were talking earlier about being logical about things. What would Neil deGrasse Tyson do? And the thing is, logic sometimes takes a backseat when you're dealing with magical entities. They operate on kind of like a different playing field than, muscles, force is equal to mass times acceleration. And when you're dealing with magic, and I said this in my review, you make up the rules. You literally say, these are the rules that we're operating in. And then a lot of times those rules are broken later on in the movie, if not done on a completely different movie. And I'm going to take this example. It's not a complete one-to-one example, but you'll understand.
Hold on, man. This is an MCU or MCOC reference. DTM said, I'm guessing that she just wasn't in binary mode, so she wasn't invulnerable.
Oh, God.
That's terrible. That's terrible. This is not a video game. This is a movie. It's definitely.
I mean,
different.
binary mode is what it's called in the comics too.
I get
They
it.
just, I don't think we haven't had that. Haven't called
That's
that in the
hilarious.
movies.
I know.
But yeah, she was vulnerable.
she was vulnerable. She didn't have her vulnerability up. Okay. I'm sorry, Cam. Keep going.
It's okay.
I had to read that because that was too funny. I was over here laughing too much.
So, right before Act 3 of Avengers Infinity War, you had Stephen Strange using the Time Stone to look at all of the realities where they encounter Thanos. And out of 14 million, he only found one. He only found one. This is using magic to find out what is the solution. And then casually as you please, as they're talking about how in this movie, how they killed their Doctor Strange, there's Thanos. He's dead. That was not one of the ones. That's breaking the rules. Or we could even change it up.
Right, because
we could change it up.
Did he look at all our different realities, or did he look at all realities? And that I don't think that was ever explained.
And
so that could be the difference.
That's fine that you bring that up. How about this? Thanos is on this absolute, power trip. He's trying to bring balance to the universe. But what if he couldn't remember that that's what he was wanting to do? Why not use the same kind of magical objects that they used in Spider-Man No Way Home and make Thanos forget that he's after these stones? That is a possible solution. And
that spell is dangerous.
Yeah. But that could have been one of the 14 million. I'm just saying that magic makes rules and it immediately breaks rules. And they do that here.
I mean, the simple solution to that is that of those 14 million, that was one of the scenarios that they had tried and they failed at, though. It still didn't.
You could say that.
They didn't win. And that, so to explain the other end of it then is there are 14 million ways they only saw them in their universe, their dimension, whatever. Whereas all these other ones, they have clearly different. Like there's one that was literally like a paint dimension. There, stuff works differently there. I'm sure there's a different way that they could have beaten Thanos there. This dimension, they have Mr. Fantastic, who his mind, presumably, maybe he came up with something that the main 616 universe doesn't have access to. They don't have the knowledge of, because that definitely seemed like a much more advanced society than our main MCU. So they have knowledge that our universe is yet to gain, it seemed. So
fair, but
that's my counter argument to your problem, I guess.
That's fine, but it still doesn't change the
But yeah, I get your point.
Yeah.
You can't say A and then A equals B and then turn right around and be like, oh, now A does not equal B. It's actually XYZ. Like, wait, what?
So yeah. And this is not a problem that I have with the movie, but this is what I was saying a big missed opportunity was. So in the movie, you have Wanda, who is reading from the Darkhold. The Darkhold itself gets destroyed, and then, she goes to the place where the Darkhold, the book, was recorded from the walls of the chants and spells from the demon who actually came up with this, right? Mm-hmm. So if you're going up against Wanda, who has possession of the Darkhold, one of the best things that you could do as a storyteller is finish up with some amazing fan service. Who is the only other person in the entirety of the MCU who has had access to the Darkhold?
Agatha.
Why wasn't that trick in this movie? Why did we not get an Agatha all along callback? Why didn't we get Agatha Harkness back in the MCU? This would have been a perfect vehicle. Perfect. Absolutely. The highest point of WandaVision was when Agatha was like, here I am.
I'm here.
Here I am. It was me. all along. And this was the perfect time for us to show, even if Agatha wasn't the key to beating Scarlet Witch, it would have been a great avenue for us to see her on the big screen.
Yeah.
So that was the biggest
I think they probably didn't want to do that because they were already adding so many aspects from WandaVision that people...
Like, I heard someone reference it earlier today saying they should have called it The Rise of Scarlet Witch.
But then it would have spoiled the twist of her being the villain.
But that's basically them saying how much Wanda was in... How much reference to the Scarlet Witch was in this show?
Well, that's what I was going to say. So
I
think, they didn't. The reason they probably didn't have Agatha in is because they're already referencing so much from WandaVision to where the people, they can't assume that everyone seeing this movie has already watched WandaVision. So they already have the kids in there who, like, if you haven't watched WandaVision, people are probably just like, oh, she has kids apparently, okay, and why is she fighting so hard to have these kids? Like, the people are going to be confused already. So then to bring in a character like Agatha, and they're going to be like, okay, now who's this witch? Like, what's going on here? That's my guess.
Trouble. I got to stay muted.
Okay. Someone done messed up. Hey, Ron.
Yep, someone done messed it up there.
Let's see.
Y'all got quiet. Y'all can still talk. I'm
trying to think, like, what aspect of the do I want to talk about? Like, so what are your guys' thoughts on America Chavez as a whole? What'd you think about her character?
Introductory to her character, someone who didn't know what her power really was, except for that she could travel between multiverses. Didn't understand how to control it. Somehow by the end figured out to control it. I don't know. How someone learns to control magic without being trained properly just seems, I don't know, how you go from it's okay
it's how you turn into Wanda.
Yeah, essentially that's how you turn into Wanda. But apparently she doesn't have those kind of powers. I don't know. She can travel between multiverses. I don't know what else she can do. They didn't really display a lot of her power per se. Like when she punched people, she definitely opened up something. I don't know what it was. The fact that I don't know. I don't know how y'all felt about Zombie Strange.
Well, first off, for America, I felt like America Chavez's character she felt a little rushed for her arc.
She felt rushed.
Because, like instantly you're just thrown into her just, like, being in the heat of it and not knowing why this thing's chasing her. And it's like, oh, yeah, I'm just a kid, though, but I don't know how to describe my powers. But I clearly know enough that I'm the only... I can travel through multiverse. I've been to 72 different universes, and I'm the only one in all of them. Like, I don't have a doppelganger, essentially. And then we find out that she first used her powers when she was a kid and sent her parents away, and she doesn't know how to control her powers. Kind of like all we really get about her. And then the final explanation of I did like the turn that, you know, she's accepted at the end. She's like, look, I understand now that you need to take my power to defeat her. But then he flips it on her and says, no, you can do this. I can't remember his exact wording.
He told her she was the one that she could beat him.
Yeah,
in so many words that she could beat her.
And I watched someone's breakdown, and they pointed out that they thought when he was at the intersection where the Book of Ashanti was, that when the book was open, there was a quick glimpse where you could see as it was like getting destroyed, where there was like a star figure, and Doctor Strange saw that and realized that she's the key to countering Wanda, because basically that book was the counter book to defeat uh, the evil book. I'm forgetting.
Right.
Blanking on the name right now.
Darkhold.
Darkhold. There we go. And so he realized that she is the America Chavez is the counter to the Scarlet Witch, and that's that's why he gave her that speech at the end, realizing like, no, you have to do this. You can do this. You can't control it because every time I remember now, he says every time that you used your power, you sent us exactly where we needed to go. So you clearly know how to control it. You just have to trust yourself.
Right.
And do it where you want to. And so then when she does that, the initial thought for her was to send her to hell, basically. Because that first portal that opens up, very hellish looking, and she's about to knock her over a cliff. Decides not to, ends up showing her like, look, you want your kids? Here you go. This is your kids. This is what they think of you. You're a bad parent. Essentially what happened.
Larson says another movie/TV show where Wanda destroys kills because she misses family. Oh my God, see a therapist. I mean, at this point, it's what it breaks down to. Wanda needs help mentally.
I mean, yeah, and I did see some people arguing that this movie kind of defeated the whole purpose of the finale of WandaVision, where she finally comes to acceptance of her loss, because that whole, was through going through the stages of grief and everything, and finally acceptance at the end of it, being able to move on. And so people were like, why did that show end like that, but then to turn around and just go and destroy all this? It's like, well, no, you're also forgetting the very ending, the end credit scene of WandaVision, where it's revealed that, she took the Darkhold and was starting to use the Darkhold. And as we saw what the Darkhold did to Agatha, started turning her hands all dark and evil, and as is explained through this entire movie, that even just reading the slightest bit of the Darkhold makes you go batshit crazy. Like, yeah, she may have accepted it on her own, like, accepted her loss of vision, but her loss of the children that she had then created, she did not come to terms with.
Did not come to terms with.
And therefore looked to the Darkhold to
try to put her back with her family.
Yeah, and that drove her to do unthinkable things. But in her mind, she's like, I'm doing this for my children. Like, none of this matters. Just let me have my children what I want, and no one's going to get hurt, clearly. But if you're going to stand in my way, I'm going to do what I got to do.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Cal.
Oh, I was. I agree with that. I think that this, somebody had pointed out before that this felt very much more like a Wanda Maximoff movie than a Doctor Strange movie, and that's true. A friend of mine, a close friend of mine, says that this is all the Avengers' fault. Because after everything that happened, nobody called. Nobody tried to check up. Hey, are you doing all right? She literally just lost every single family member that she ever had important in her life. And he says that the worst offender is Clint, because at least Clint tried to make a connection with her in several instances. And then he got his family back and just ghosted her. And I'm like, that man is going through a whole bunch of crap. Why? Don't dare put that on his shoulders. And we're going to talk about that.
But like, in the end, if that's kind of true, like, if you got a friend that you're close to, and this friend is going through something, and you were there before when they were kind of going through it, but not really.
I'm ignoring them. I'm definitely ignoring them. No, they're on their own.
Yeah, they're kind of on their own now that so-and-so died. Man, I got my people over here. You're okay.
Yeah.
That's not a very good friend.
No. I could understand that argument. Yes.
He says it's all Clint's fault. And I'm like, no, it is not.
I mean, it ain't all Clint's fault. But
I see where you're coming from, but no.
Clint was a part.
No.
He said they all need their butts whooped, especially Clint. That's what he said.
Clint's losing his hearing. He doesn't know what's going on. Okay, guys, give him a break.
He's there.
No one signed language it to him to make him understand. Like, hey, yo, Wanda needs your help. Like, what?
He's like, I'm
Right, yeah,
sorry, I can't
DTM
help
at the
her.
end of
I
the
have
series, she heard the kids'
No
voices
habla
say, no.
inglés. I don't know what's going on.
He's like,
guys are
I have tickets to watch Rogers the musical. I can't call Wanda right
I've
now.
only seen it. I've only seen it
Phones.
3 times this month. I need to see it a fourth.
You guys were pitiful.
Too far?
Too far. Too
Okay.
far. All right, so we've now been on for about 3 hours overall. I guess let's go ahead and put a bow on this. Wrap this up. Doctor Strange. We've already given our ratings on it. I thought it was a 9 out of 10. Cam said he thought it was a 7.5 out of 10. Is that right?
About 6.
No, he said 6.7.
Six.
I'd say it was about
6.7.
I put 7.5 to 8 range.
7.5 to 8 range. Okay.
We didn't talk
One
about
thing you think is- Go ahead.
I was gonna say the only thing we hadn't really touched on much is at all was the end credit scene too. So the mid
end-credit
the
scene,
mid credit
yes.
scene.
Because the second end credit scene.
I've been making sure to tell everyone I know though to stay
Right.
until there's
Like-
two end. I'm like, there's 2 end credit scenes.
There's
Make
2
sure to
end
stay
credit
at the end.
scenes. If you haven't seen it, you're watching it. The second end credit scene, just after the first one, if you don't want your time wasted
Yeah.
and you don't care enough, get up and walk out after the first end credit scene, because that'll save you about 5 minutes of your life. Because I was like, that's it. I don't care how funny it was. It was like,
Yeah.
make that in the middle credit scene and give us a good end credit scene.
Still wasn't as bad as Rogers the Musical being the end credit scene of Hawkeye.
Of Hawkeye.
I'll take this guy saying it's finally over much more than Rogers the Musical.
I was gonna go see it
We
again,
agree with
but
that.
nah.
We agree with that.
Oh, Larson, no, I'm definitely gonna go see it again.
DTM brought up a good point
yeah.
here. He says, side note, when Strange realized Wanda was the villain, he didn't contact any other Avengers.
He didn't. But
That's also
in reality,
a good point. I mean,
in reality, who was he
you
gonna
could
call?
you could almost make that argument. I mean, other than Ghostbusters, but yeah, I don't know. But yeah, what other Avenger
Boo!
is on the level to be able to help with this? And plus, as we've mentioned earlier, Stephen Strange is a narcissist, like self-centered person. He thinks, oh, I can handle this. He goes to Wong at least and thinking like we're mystical arts people. We can handle this Scarlet Witch girl.
This is magic.
Like,
yeah, so
and obviously he doesn't know who Spider-Man is now, so he can't ask him to help. Which
no. He knew who Spider-Man was.
he knew, yeah.
He just didn't know who he was.
But I'm just meaning like it doesn't appear that they don't know that he's not considered.
him.
He's not considered an Avenger though, so it's not like he has contact info to be like call up
True.
Spider-Man and be like, "Yo, Spider-Man, can we get your help on this?" It's like they know of the Spider-Man character. I feel like
I mean, Captain Marvel, isn't she off planet? And
probably.
let's see, who else? Thor's off planet. Iron Man is not here with us.
Hulk. I mean,
Spider-Man's
she's not gonna.
Hulk is, where was Hulk at? Is he Bruce Banner at this time, or is he Hulk, or is he the in between guy?
Last we saw was the end credit of Shang-Chi, so Wong
guess he could've got Shang-Chi.
could have gotten Shang-Chi.
That was my question.
The rings?
Remember when they
The
brought
rings?
in? Remember they brought in all the different magical people
Yeah.
at the beginning to fight Wanda? Was the Asian group that group from Shang Lao?
Oh, I don't know. I didn't catch that. I didn't have that thought.
Because it felt like they were bringing in different people, and the lady said anything to help with Kamar-Taj, we're happy to be of service.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is not their normal thing. This is not what they do, but they were here to help.
I don't know. I assumed it was from the other sanctums because it was the London sanctum and then the Beijing one. Is it? Is that what the other one is? Hong Kong. So I just assumed it was the sorcerers from. They have their own kind of
Their own set. Okay.
Kamar-Taj as well over there, as well as their.
Got you. So the other sectors was New York, Hong Kong, and London.
It was New York, Hong Kong, and London. Yeah, I believe. The Sinister Strange fight should have been longer. Oh, that what'd you guys think of the the musical fight with the music notes and everything?
I thought that was pretty awesome.
I was not
I
a
thought
fan of it.
Honestly, I
Was it?
thought it was kind of cheesy. It was a little weird. Like, and that's coming from
I
someone who like
agree.
I love music. I love singing. I
I thought it
like
was very cheesy.
singing is one of my favorite hobbies. I love to do it. It's just it felt random. Like he backs into a piano and plays a few notes and thinks, "Oh, I'll use these musical notes." It just
Exactly.
didn't fit to me. It visually it looked cool and like the way they did it, like yeah, it's cool, but it just like it just felt weird to me. Like why? But why? Why did they need to do that? It felt like something that would have been in like a cartoon.
It felt like a Chuck Jones kind of deal.
I don't know what Chuck Jones is, but sure, yeah, I agree.
Cartoonist. He
Okay.
created Wile E. Coyote. Like
Oh, okay.
literally.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it felt like something that would have been in a cartoon. A little cheesy. Visually, it looked cool, and the way that like they throw the notes and they'd pull up like the bar or whatever to catch the notes on, so it looked like they're playing along, reading notes, reading music, and everything like that. It was cool, and it was making the musical note sounds and playing songs as they were doing it. And then we get the fun callback at the end that music starts playing again as the third eye appears on Stephen Strange.
On Stephen Strange's head.
So it's like,
yeah.
was that the only reason they did it so that we would instantly get the callback reference to the third eye? Like, oh, that's the third eye from the other third-eyed Stephen Strange we saw earlier. I don't know.
So, do you feel that Third Eye Doctor Strange is that more like the symbiote supreme type version of Doctor Strange?
The one wait, so the one that died?
Yeah, or even the one that's current.
So the one that died, I just assumed I like in the trailers I thought that was again going to be a tie-in to the What If series and that was going to be the Strange from what do they call him? I can't remember. But yeah, I thought that was going to be him, but it wasn't. So that was just a Strange that read the Darkhold, which possessed him to end up getting his world destroyed. And then now our Stephen Strange having the third eye, kind of, I don't know. There's a lot to think
Hmm.
about with that. Who knows? Because I did think it was kind of weird how it went from the end of the movie that showing up to be like a big like, oh crap, is he going to become evil now? But then the
Yeah.
post credit scene immediately just like shows like, oh, he's good with it. Yeah, like look, I've got a third eye. Ho ho. Hey, cute lady, pretty lady. I've got three eyes. Do you like that? That's what it
Which
felt
we didn't
like.
even talk about Clea being in the
Yeah, Clea.
mid-credits.
The mid. Yeah, that's what I was getting to next was the mid credit scene of Clea, who I'll be honest had to look up of like who was this in the mid credit scene. I have no idea. Turns out she is the
I thought it was
niece,
Captain Braxton. What is the one that?
Captain Britain, who was just added into
Yeah,
no
added into the game.
no
I thought
she
it was her.
it was Clea who is a strong magic user from the comics who has a kind of an on and off relationship, eventually marries Stephen Strange in the comics,
Yeah.
and she is the niece of Dormammu. I don't know how that works,
Oh, well.
but she also
Is
is
that what-
the
is that what
sorcerer.
Stephen
She's
came to Barley
she's
about?
this at one point she's the sorcerer supreme of the Dark Dimension too.
Ugh.
So that's all the knowledge I've learned about this character since the movie. Anything else you can tell us, or did I just about cover it all?
You got it.
Okay.
You got it.
So essentially, this movie was Steven coming to terms with moving on from Christine,
From Christine,
and
yeah,
introducing
yeah.
who his next love interest is going to be, is what it sounds like. Because they're going to go on a magical journey together, just a casual. It basically like if like you guys probably don't relate to this very much because you are in relationships. But when I'm scrolling on dating apps and I see a girl that says looking for adventure, this is what I assume they mean is going on a mystical adventure
Oh,
through the
mythical
multiverse
adventures.
and using their powers to
Show him your
solve
third eye.
to solve incursions. And I'm like, look at me, I've got a third eye. Is that what you like? I assume that's what they mean when they say looking for adventure.
Looking for adventure and a good time.
You'd be surprised how many girls that like it's on like so many girls' profiles. Like always down for adventures. And I'm just like, what does that even mean?
What does that mean?
What
Like,
the
you want to take a road trip to have a picnic, or
like
you want to go climb a
you
mountain,
want
or
make another
you wanna ice
reference.
skate on
You want
on
an
a bike?
adventure? Here's my Stephen Grant, and here's my Mark Spector. I got two personalities. This is going to be an adventure. Let's
Oh my
go.
gosh. Is this
Hey,
the part where you don't show her all the best interesting
Yeah,
parts too?
and then she doesn't get to meet Jake Lockley until she says, "I do."
right. Exactly how that should go.
Oh my gosh.
I'm definitely gonna find a date soon, guys. I promise.
Oh, if you get a girlfriend and or start dating somebody seriously, Captain, then who am I going to pull on a weekly basis to talk?
Don't worry, I'll try to weave something into the contract with her and be like, look,
I ain't gonna lie. I have to like tell my girl like, look, these are the days I'm streaming. If we got something planned today, just let me know and I'll reschedule it.
yeah.
You got to stay out of trouble.
So let's see. How many think? And I'm getting ready to do a spoiler.
Okay.
How many think that Wanda is actually dead?
I don't.
I don't.
She alive.
She's alive.
Here's a big reason why I think she's alive. Because wasn't it reported like a couple months ago that she signed like a 6-movie deal, a 6-movie contract or something like that?
Was it?
I don't know.
Let me look it up. I thought I had read something about that, and I sent it to my buddy a while ago, and he reminded me of it. He's like, I don't think she's dead because didn't you send something? I'm like, oh yeah, I did send that.
So here's the thing: then. If she's not dead, is she going to continue to be a villain? And how big of a bad is she going to be? Because we already know that Kang is supposed to be the big bad of this upcoming.
I don't think she would be a
phase.
villain. But obviously they can't just like accept her as back an Avenger. Now at this point, she's killed a lot of people.
She's imprisoned people's minds.
Tried to
killed
kill
people.
a kid.
Yeah,
was like,
tried to kill a kid, killed the entire Illuminati.
She's like, I want to kill this kid, so
lots
I
of
mean,
people-
no one knows the Illuminati on 616.
I guess.
Except for
So the only person who would
Strange.
know would be Strange and Chavez.
He was like, no, actually, he didn't watch her do it. He was just like, he just assumed. He's like, by the way, Mordo, all your friends are dead.
All your friends are dead. Exactly. He doesn't know,
He doesn't know. He just,
but he thinks
he's
he
a
knows.
narcissistic prick. And he's like, I'm pretty sure they're dead. What a guy.
All right. So
They're dead 'cause
let's
of-
wrap this up with biggest theory that's going to stem from this particular movie.
I'm gonna go out on a limb, even though it's not a very huge limb, and I'm going to say that based on the popularity from recent projects, that they announce a new Disney Plus show called Sanctum Sanctorum, and we get to see the adventures of Wong, the Sorcerer Supreme.
Okay. I can see that. Captain?
I'm sorry, I'm looking up. Oops. So there's something here that says Elizabeth Olsen's extended or signed a 7-year extension with Marvel, and that there was talk of her getting her own solo movie.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I had seen. So whether or not that was true or just a way to mislead us to now that she's dead and now returning, I don't know. So my biggest spin-off from this. I mean, I feel like it's not that big of a stretch, but again, no pun intended. But Mr. Fantastic Four. Hopefully, we get some information about that.
In the 616.
Yeah, in the main continuity, whether or not it's going to be.
I believe that the Illuminati led on to, okay, we're going to be doing this,
Mhm.
and this, and this.
Yeah. Um, but I guess okay, so at the end of the movie, America Chavez is now clearly a student at Comertage. So moving forward, she's gonna have more of a whether or not she gets a Disney Plus show or a full movie, they'll be exploring more of her mystical powers and her controlling them and going on to find her parents, as Doctor Strange alluded to. Like, no, your parents are still alive. Like, they're out there. So,
Damn. Hey, now I'm not gonna lie. This alliance just ran through our entire defense.
oof. Get wrecked, son.
3 kills and they're at the boss.
On just your battle group?
Just my battle group. 3 kills and they're at the boss.
I'm still stuck in section 1 because
I'm
no
still in
one's
section
moving
1
up
because I
to
haven't
the
started
freaking
yet.
man thing.
I haven't
Like-
started yet. I can as soon as I get off here, like I'm gonna run my entire path. There's 5 fights, but dog, they've ran through our entire defense, 3 deaths, with one defender left.
So, what about you? What's your prediction? What do you think's gonna
Me
spin off
personally,
from?
I think that what's going to happen is these upcoming Wanda years that we have are going to be Wanda trying to repair some of the damage that she's done to her name. She's she's studied from the Darkhold. The Darkhold has basically warped her mind. Now that there's no more Darkhold, the book has been destroyed. The temple that it was created in has been destroyed.
But she still has that knowledge, probably.
She has the knowledge, but I think she'll start trying to do things to make it, to make it
Things
whole.
right.
Yeah, I like you said. I think the Illuminati just pointed out. Okay, this is who's going to be playing Mr. Fantastic. At some point, we're going to see more cameos and more discussions about that in the 616. We've showed you guys Professor X. Although Patrick Stewart may not play Charles Xavier, there's going to be a Charles Xavier in the upcoming movies here soon that will get introduced. That will be the future of X-Men in the.
Yeah, I don't think Patrick Stewart will come back to play that. I think he was definitely a cameo.
He looked pretty old.
I'm pretty sure the Black Bolt guy is probably just a cameo.
Yeah. Inhumans was just.
I don't see them actually doing Inhumans.
Yes, I did,
For a
Kim.
while.
I said the Wanda years. You're right, and that was on purpose.
Okay, I caught it.
Talk about.
I didn't want to interrupt you, and I was like, I heard it. I was like, okay, so we're going back into the WandaVision deep cut. Nice,
Deep cut. Hey, you got WandaVision coming out. We'll probably have the Wanda years. She's still got to process and deal with a lot of things. She's going to have to do things to make things better.
Yeah.
Overall, in the MCU for her, she can't continue to be the villain. I don't think she's was ever intended to be the big bad. Will she always do things by the book? No. I think she's at the point where she's at. So real quick, I want to read a couple things in the chat, and then I want to wrap up for real. Time Master says Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania will be directly involved with this, and will include Fantastic Four. John, I can't ever say his name, Kornaski, again to lead into the new Fantastic Four movie.
Krasinski. There you go.
Yeah, him. It's the ski that always messes me up. I'm a little surprised Wong was still the Sorcerer Supreme at the end of the movie. I thought he wasn't going to make it. Yeah, they definitely led you to think to believe Wong was dead. I knew he wasn't.
I thought he was gonna die though. I didn't think he was gonna die in that moment, but I did have a feeling by the end of the movie he was gonna die, and that was gonna lead to Doctor Strange becoming Sorcerer Supreme finally.
Larsa says she's probably gonna lose her dog or something and go on another rampage. Hope not. No John Wick for Wanda, please.
I was thinking more like Wizard of Oz. But
On
yeah.
IMDb, John Krasinski is listed as an actor for Fantastic Four. Yeah, we kind of already figured that one, Time Master. Maybe the Darkhold being destroyed brings back vampires into the MCU and into Blade. Could. With it being destroyed, it could destroying the book could have brought something evil into our universe. Doctor Strange and Clea are going to deal with Mordo, who is trying to release Dormammu. very possible. I like that one, Tom Master.
Because it did look like they were going to the dark dimension there.
Yeah. James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender should come back to play Professor X and Magneto. I could see that one because, like I said, Patrick Stewart's definitely a little older, and I can't see him coming back to reprise his role as Professor X anymore. I think that was definitely a cameo thing and a one-off. Like, thank you for helping us introduce mutants into the MCU. You could sign me for Inhumans being seated throughout other MCU films. Black Bolt looked sick. I tend to disagree, but okay. She doesn't have the motivation to keep being a villain at this point. No. Wanda of Oz. Larson, I'm much more interested in the introduction of the Inhumans. To be honest, big fan. It was such a failure on the ABC TV show that
it was so bad.
Don't know. It was bad.
It's hard for me to like really hate a show. Like I'm known in my friend group for being a very lighthearted critic, and maybe you guys have established that from my breakdowns of most of these shows as well, which I fully fine with. Like, I'm easily pleased when it comes to movies and TV. Just give me a little fan service and I'm gonna love it. Stuff like that. But Inhumans, like, there wasn't any part of that I'm glad about that I watched.
Yeah, it was tough. That was a tough watch. I was like, oh, thank God they're not re-signing this one.
Yeah.
Great. All right, so 3.5 hours. We covered a lot. We covered all of 6 episodes of Moon Knight. We've done a quick, not necessarily a breakdown of Doctor Strange, but what we kind of liked and disliked, and we talked about some points in the movie that we really thought and what was going to go forward from there. I think it's a good point of wrapping up. I'd like to thank Cam from Comic Book Movie Reviews. If you have not subbed this channel, he just recently hit 1,000 subs.
Whoop, whoop.
I can't remember if I had this in.
Congrats.
Thank you.
No, I didn't. Okay. Let me grab his channel real quick. Where are you at, Cameron?
I'm what?
I'm grabbing your channel.
Yeah, it's there.
Did you already put it in?
No, I didn't.
Oh, no worries. I got you.
I got
you got it. All right. Thanks, Captain. And then Captain Bay, if you could drop your link. Obviously, most of us know who Captain Bay is from our MCOC streams when he decides to do that. And
I don't know. I don't think Madrix knows who I am. He's into Loki, but he probably doesn't know who I am.
No, Madrix probably has zero clue who you are. So there's that. And then, of course, myself, thank you guys for coming and hanging out with me tonight. This is always fun. I really enjoy doing these. These are always longer, so I always try to allot myself more time than normal. We usually start earlier and finish later, and I'm never mad about this. I think we always get a good time out of this.
Yeah.
I appreciate everybody who came by and stopped by. Thank you, Lefty Knox, for the raid earlier. And then for everybody stopping by, everybody who shared this out, everybody who came in and contributed to the chat. These were fun. We like doing these. Join us. I haven't decided if I want to do Obi-Wan yet, Captain.
I mean, I'll for sure be watching it. I don't know.
I'll be watching it. I don't
whether
know
or not
if
we
I
do
wanna
breakdowns
a
or anything. Maybe not.
I don't know if I want to do a breakdown. Cam, do you want to do a wrap-up show on Obi-Wan?
I don't.
Are you gonna be okay?
I might not even watch it.
Okay.
I'm really excited for that one.
Like, I watched The Mandalorian season 1 and 2, but I still haven't watched the Book of Boba Fett.
You haven't watched the Book of Boba Fett?
There's really only about like 2 episodes that you need to watch. The rest of it
depends.
just...
How much Boba Fett do you want? Do you want to watch more Mandalorian? Because that's in there.
I mean, the thing is, I did enjoy Mandalorian, but I mean, I haven't.
He's in it.
Yeah,
he's in it. He's in it just as much as Boba is.
I just, you know.
It should be called The Book of Boba Fett and the Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how much he's in there. But yeah, that's gonna be it. I appreciate everybody. Thanks for stopping by.
Thanks for having us, Ghost Dog.
No, I appreciate that. I love doing this with you guys. We'll get together and do something else soon. What's the next Disney Plus Marvel show?
Miss Marvel, Kamala Khan.
Okay.
Which the new trailer actually dropped about 4 hours ago.
Oh, it did.
I think it's the game Kamala Khan that makes me feel like.
The Avengers game?
Yeah, our game.
MCU.
That makes me feel like.
Because I do know in the Marvel Avengers game, she's like one of the main characters.
She is the main character.
Which I haven't played that game. I haven't heard great things about the game, so I just haven't
There are not great things about the game.
Yeah. I started playing the Guardians of the Galaxy one.
That's a fun.
And I did it on. I have Xbox Game Pass on my computer, and I played it for I think about like an hour and a half the first night. And I got on like the next day, and it didn't save my progress. It like said file corrupted or whatever, and I'm like, oh well, I guess that's it for that game. Like I don't want to go through all what I just went through again.
Go back through and play that game. That game is good.
I've heard it's good. It's fun. So
I went through the entire gameplay twice on stream both times.
Well, and that's the thing about it. There's multiple routes to go with this.
Hold on, guys. We can talk about this in a minute.
Yeah.
Wrap this up.
Sorry.
So, guys, also I forgot. Cam has a Twitch that he streams random games. If you like watching different games being played, he has a lot of different older school games that he plays on different systems. And I believe if you sub to his YouTube channel, he has a link to his Twitch from there. So you can find him there. But it's Virtuous Hobbs, correct?
That's right. Virtuous Hobbs.
Virtuous Hobbs on the Twitch. So you can find him there as well. Again, thank you guys for this. We appreciate that. We love you guys, and we'll talk to you soon. Peace.
Later.